Looks like it's you that he wants.
I'm not gonna let him kill you. Fear no evil. Fear no evil.
Hello, everyone, and I am so excited to be here at Todd Tucker's Illusion Industries. It's very exciting. We are going to be celebrating Leatherface 2022. This is TCMTalk. It is on Netflix, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and today is everything about Leatherface 2022. We are here with the creators, Todd Tucker and Martin Astles, and Todd Tucker is the owner and founder of Illusion Industries, and Martin is the key artist, designer, and creator of Leatherface.
Well.
What's that?
And I make the tea as well.
Oh, you
Matt
do. You
with
make.
the trolley
And he's
at
the
5
tea
o'clock.
maker
Yes,
as well,
yeah.
apparently. Yeah.
He makes great tea.
Does he?
He makes fantastic
Well,
tea.
he's you
He's
know,
English.
that's it. So black tea, I'm assuming.
It is black tea, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're the key artist, designer, and all over guy for Leatherface 2022. And Todd, this is your studio, and we're here, and this is what we're doing. How are you?
We're great. We are so excited. The movie came out yesterday. We're going to be answering some questions today. So if you haven't seen the movie, you're going to get a lot of spoilers. So I would suggest that you should have already seen the movie if you're a fan.
That's it.
Very excited about the film. I watched it last night with my family and
Good.
family event.
A very nice family,
Right.
friendly. I'm looking
And,
over at Todd's wife.
I was so pleased with it. It was funny when we got the show. Actually, we had worked with a producer named Herb Gaines, and he was at Legendary Films, and he gave me a call and he said, "Hey, I need you to help us on this lower budget project that we're doing." And I said, "Okay." And he goes, "I need you to come up with the lead character." And I wasn't, I said, "Okay, sure, that sounds great. What is it?" And he goes, "It's Leatherface." And I started laughing, and he goes, "What the hell are you laughing at?" And then I go, "You're serious?" And he goes, "Yeah. Are you going to do it or what?" I'm like, "Hell yeah." So then I came back and knocked on Martin's office door, and I said, "Martin, I just got the most interesting phone call." And I said, "Guess who I just talked to and what they're asking us to make?" And I don't know. And I said, "We're going to make Leatherface." And he started laughing the same way I did. Right. And I go, "No, I'm dead serious." And I had no idea. Now I'm going to throw you a props right now. I had no idea that I know Martin is a totally knows so much about movies and horror and everything. I had no idea that Martin potentially might be.
It means loser.
No.
No.
Knows more about Texas Chainsaw and Leatherface than anyone I have ever met in my career and in my life. So when we started getting into this, Martin started just telling me all this stuff about Leatherface and Texas Chainsaw that I don't even think most fans know. Right. I don't even know how you know. But ultimately, he has this knowledge of it. So it was really great because Martin sculpted and designed the look.
Right.
And when we took the sculpture into the studios, we got the job, and literally 2 weeks after we got the job, the world shut down for COVID.
Yeah, that's what you had said. And I was like, I wondered what that experience was like. But let's go back to this for a second. With Martin knowing so much about the character, I mean, it's kind of like fate,
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I had no idea, actually, that you were that overly knowleable about Leatherface.
Well, I mean, I know some stuff, not as much as some people.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know.
Well, let's be honest. I'll be honest with you. He's being actually very, very humble. When he got on set, Martin did become a very much a go-to guy for things and knowledge and everything Leatherface. So it was great that they had Martin on set because Martin was able to give all that backstory and history to just help give that essence of the character, Yes.
And so tell us about so you get the job, and then 2 weeks into it, the world shuts down. And what are you guys thinking?
It's over.
It's over, yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
Like we just lost Leatherface. And I was like, oh my God. And then Herb called me and he goes, "Yeah, screw this pandemic. We're doing this thing. Are you on board?" And I'm, hell yes, we're on board. So then Martin and I sat down and we were like, how are we going to get a crew in here? Because literally everything had shut down. No one would even leave their house. They were scared to death to leave their house. And we're like, how are we going to do this? So we just started reaching out to people. And, I will say this, and I think you'll agree with me. Yeah. When we told people, "Hey, we need you to come into the studio. We're starting on a film," they're like, "Hell no!"
Yeah.
And then we went, "We're making Leatherface." They went, "Oh,
wow." Oh,
Then
wow.
Couldn't change
Wow.
their mind.
they changed their mind real quick, but
Yeah.
it was still hard to find people.
Yeah, with like the requirements, I mean, with safety precautions and everything,
Yeah.
I'm sure it was just.
No,
you
everyone
know,
was scared to death.
I mean, nobody
Yeah.
knew what was going on at the time.
It was
so,
brand new.
That's true.
Yeah, no one
That's
knew
true.
what
That's right.
protocols were
That's
or
right.
how to behave in a shop environment. So it was
That's-
all a brave new world at that point.
And the entire design phase happened on this new thing called Zoom,
Oh, wow.
which we had never used before.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
everything that was interesting too, because
Yeah.
as we were designing stuff, Martin was designing the face. We had Miles Tevis, who is another amazing artist.
Miles, I love him.
Awesome. Miles did 2D designs of Leatherface under the mask, so we could start coming
Yeah.
up with what that look was.
Straight makeup.
Straight makeup
yeah.
look. And then we had another guy
And
named,
wardrobe too.
and well, that was John Donahue too.
That was John.
John Donahue came in. He was another one of our great artists, and he did some 2D drawings of the wardrobe and the physical look of what Leatherface's body would be. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we did it all remotely, and oddly enough, it worked out great. There were very few hiccups on this show.
True.
Comparably,
It was a bit of a headache.
it was hard, but I mean, comparably to what we
Well,
were up against.
Yeah, because it's
right?
easier to work with a lot of artists face to face, you know.
Right.
So the Zoom thing, Todd's right, it did work out okay in the end, but it was the translation gets lost a little bit when you're talking to somebody over a camera a little bit. You know,
Sure.
when people are together, it's easier just to sort of jam and talk things through. But when you're trying to describe an apron or a ripped face to somebody, I think sometimes it gets a little tricky.
Well, not, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I think about it and I think about how that would be, you know, in this new world. And you guys are like 2 weeks into it of not knowing at all this kind of new world.
Yeah.
And so you guys basically got a crash course in it. And probably this will serve you well if anything should happen again. I mean, you'll have a crash course in it and know how to do it.
We had
You know?
we
I
had
mean,
a creative
seriously.
team. Yeah, we had a creative team working here, probably 10 to 12 people total.
About that, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No one got sick.
Yeah.
We spread everyone out. We did it really well.
Yeah.
Everyone wore masks. Everyone was good. No one got sick. And also, when Martin went on set in Bulgaria to put the makeup on, no one got sick on set either, huh?
They didn't. No, that's actually, I mean, the producers did an amazing job on that. Because again, I think we were only one of maybe 3 shows shooting in Europe, I believe.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Everything shut down.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
nobody knew how to behave on set. You know, it was such a crazy time, especially for makeup too, because obviously we're, you know, touching the actors and dealing directly with the actors.
Right.
So
Hands-on breathing, everything.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like it was full face masks initially and
Sure.
sterilization of makeup stations every day, you know, and for the first couple of weeks, it was using like one set of brushes, and by the end of the day, you throw them out, start with a new palette. You know, you couldn't reuse things.
Right.
So
You still can't.
you still can't.
No, you still can't. On set,
No.
you have to, every brush can't be
The
used for different
protocols for the
actors.
sets now are
Yeah.
just over the top.
Sterilization.
They, you know, it's just over the top, but that's what I mean. You guys really got a crash course in this, and
Yeah.
you know, we're,
It was,
you know, 2 weeks into it, you know, it's kind of a story within a story,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah,
it was
So,
tough.
yeah.
We were able to actually go to a few of the first meetings at Legendary, which was right down the street, luckily. And the very first thing that we did was that Martin sculpted. We grabbed a head cast and Martin sculpted a design of what the Leatherface would look like.
Mhm.
And I remember when Martin showed it to me, it was interesting because we talked about this.
Yeah.
It was interesting because he had a really sad, somber face. And we both went, you know what, they're going to fight us on this because they're going to want it to be more scary. And sure as hell, they saw it and they're like, they were confused by it. But the reality is, with Martin putting that sad look in the face, it gave him emotion. And it gave him, you can go anywhere from there. If he was already too scary, there's nowhere for him to go visually, you
Well, the
know?
horror comes in what he does. I mean, it's just my personal feeling, but like, you know, you read the script and the horror is in the action. You know, the face, to me, like reading the script, it had a sense of tragedy to it a little bit. Like the face is a
Well, especially in that one, there's
Oh, no.
the one scene, and no spoiler alerts, but that one scene where he's really embracing the fact that somebody around him has, you know, passed.
yeah.
And that really was a pretty emotional scene with Leatherface.
Yeah,
So
no, I thought,
for those of you who haven't seen it, I won't spoil it 100%.
oh, you
but-
know what, it's going to get spoiled. I promise you, it's going to. I personally think with the movie myself, my favorite thing about the movie is that I literally, they showed you a side of Leatherface that I haven't seen before, where you saw the humanized version of why. And the reality is, in the story, he's been living at this orphanage with a group of people and hasn't done anything wrong.
Right.
He's been there for years,
Right.
quietly just living among them. And it wasn't until, you know, people showed up and mom got killed
Right.
I kind of
Here
understand
we go.
where he was going. I could be his lawyer in a court case and almost get him off
Right.
because of the setup, the way they did it. And I thought that was really cool because I felt for Leatherface.
It was a moment.
For the first
It
time.
was a moment in the film.
It really was good.
Todd just said it was, the mother was killed. And I'm sorry, guys, spoiler alert. but
It's out. It's out, guys.
It's out. And it's out on Netflix right now. It is trending number 3, and it's going to continue going up, I'm sure of it. And, so yes, his mother gets killed, and this is where that very emotional moment comes in for him, for Leatherface. And and so go on with that, Mark.
Well, basically, yeah. I mean, like there was some design approaches we took because initially, like the 2 initial directors on it, had a certain vision for it, which obviously they were swapped out at a certain point. But we tried to come up with something that was a little bit, the hard thing with it. There is a certain amount of stress on this, and certainly for me, like there is a few sleepless nights involved because you're reinventing a character to a certain degree that people love,
Yes.
and there is a certain amount of pressure and stress on that, and I took it to heart. I mean, it's hard to do those things without. You're always worried you're going to upset the fans. You want to bring something new to the table, but you don't want to necessarily do the same thing again.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a continuation, right? I mean, it's 50 years later or something. Like you can't. He's not the same guy. I mean, he's changed. He's a different person. So we had to try to extrapolate from the script what would make sense for this new man.
Sure.
I mean, he's been in hiding for years. I mean, he's undergone some changes.
Right.
And by the way, to add to that, they told us when the movie started, the first movie was the only thing that exists. Erase everything after that. We are literally taking place as if this story continued from the first movie only.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our, we knew that going into it. And I'm going to show you this right. This is kind of similar, not exact, but this is kind of similar to what Martin Sculpin that we ended up taking in.
We get some. This is where we get the behind the scenes and some the secrets behind Leatherface.
So we took a generic head cast, but Martin had sculpted a face on the head cast that looked pretty similar to this, almost exact, huh?
Yeah, except he had hair on the initial one I did, but we took that off at a later date. But pretty much that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And except for it was in clay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
I did do a madder version though. There was a version where he pulls his face into an expression,
Right.
and he pins it with sewing needles.
Mm-hmm.
So it was much more sort of an aggressive look, but it didn't really work. It looked kind of fake.
Right.
It looked a bit sort of makeup effects.
it's kind of distracting.
It,
Like the elements made your eye kind of go to it. So it doesn't really.
it was just at the time it was just overkill. It felt too much. I mean, it was kind of a neat look, but it was too. It was just too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to put more of a sort of a sorrowful kind of look on the face a little bit,
Right.
and just let the horror come through what he does.
But it
Chainsaw.
played into the scenes where he's
Well, look.
when he's in there smelling mom's clothes after she's dead,
Right.
and he's looking.
that was a really impactful scene.
It was great. I mean,
Yeah.
having him being able to have that sorrow look.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, with Michael Myers, it was a face of complete blank, right? But that blank
that's
worked
yeah.
so well because you read into that, and the horror came from the character. I loved it when I saw this because I was like, yeah, that sad look is going to be great. And when we showed it to the studio guys, they were like, are you sure? And we were like, please trust us on this one.
Right. Well, I mean,
So-
I think it also leads, like, what Martin's saying, you're saying, I think it also leads into the fact that when these crazy kill scenes come in, like Alvarez really went over the top with these kill scenes.
Yeah.
Like, the 2 things that they're talking about in this movie is Leatherface and the kill scene.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that must make you guys feel awesome.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
I'm like, Leatherface 2022 is a hit, meaning this character is a hit.
Right.
So, that's notably what's being talked about. And these kill scenes, because it was a very easy Saturday morning watch for me, watching this movie this morning. And I'm like, was on the edge the entire time. I'm like, God, it's like early morning Saturday, just an early read,
Right.
and but like the bus scene when he's in there with the bus scene,
Awesome.
awesome. But that
Awesome.
kind of that little sorrowful face, but what a kind of an abstract the irony of that,
Right.
kind of that kind of sci-fi with
Juxtaposition
this
of images.
crazy
Yeah,
kill.
totally.
Yeah,
Right. You've got
speak to
that. Well, the thing is, like, I have to give props to Fede for all that, because I mean, and I think even David, the director, would admit, like, no matter how much blood you would use, you'd have to put more on top of that.
He did say that.
Yeah,
He said, Fede was like, no, if you have blood, just give me more blood.
That's right, pretty much. If you think you got enough, just add more. And that was exactly the right thing to do. So, but, of course, the downside of that is, like, it becomes a swimming pool of blood. So if you're stuck in the middle of it, slip sliding all over the place. I mean, it was pretty dangerous, I can tell you, especially on that bus.
And blood continuity on this movie was probably one of the biggest nightmares, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's tough. Blood continuity is hard. But, also, too, I want to, before we go too far, I want to give props to Mark Burnham, who played.
For sure.
So Mark came in. This is his head cast right here. Mark came in. We did a full head cast on him, and he was great. And, you got to give him props. He killed it, and he literally killed it as Leatherface.
That's right.
And it was cool because, they do show him as himself, briefly throughout moments. So it was important that his look also. So I want to show also too, George, if you can pull it up, there was a design that we did that Miles Tebbis did of what Mark would look like underneath the mask. And then there's also a picture, if you can show it, of what the final look for Mark was. And
that's actually going to be available on your Instagram page.
Copy that. It's on our Instagram right now if you want to see those images. But it was important to also come up with his look for the underneath before we did the mask. So, and Mark,
we did 5 or 6 different tests on Mark. Ranging from very subtle to super extreme. Just we wanted to play around with that look a little bit. But he was always going to be very obscured in those shots. You're never really going to see him. Full on. We do see him full on, but not sort of like fully lit and.
Right.
He was always very shadowy and sort of mysterious, yeah. But I do have to agree with Todd. I've got to give Mark huge props for this. He worked so hard to sort of nail that original feel of Gunner. He wanted to bring that back into the character.
He's Gunner. There was some body language that he got from Gunner.
Mark really worked 7 days a week on this, 24 hours a day. He was always like researching that role and bring something a little not newer to it, but sort of just making that character a little older. So he worked very hard.
Right out of the gate, it seems to me that right out of the gate, just from this, and the movie, the feature film is 80 minutes long.
Yes,
so it's fast.
Right,
so it's fast, and it's fast, and the kills, and that's why you're exhausted. Right? You're exhausted. You're like, oh my God.
I don't know. I was left wanting more, actually,
because
it ends pretty fast. You're like, whoa.
Yeah, but I think that's notable that it was 80 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was probably, I'm sure, obviously done by design.
I always feel like if you leave the audience wanting more, you're better off.
Yeah.
Because for me, like a 3-4 hour movie with 6 endings,
Yeah.
I can't sit through that. I think short and sweet was good for me.
Yeah, this was hard, fast, like a freaking Ferrari.
Yeah. Now, I know we have some questions from some of our guys that are on.
Yeah.
On waiting.
We want to make sure that we take a break right now to answer any questions from our media or any questions from our attendees here. So we want to say hi to you guys and any questions.
Hi, yes, we do have some questions coming in. This is George, by the way. We are seeing quite a few questions coming in, and the first one that we got over here is from Joey Titman, who is asking, so why a Poulan 306A instead of the 245A?
Is that the chainsaw number?
Oh, they're looking at the.
That's not the correct chainsaw.
No, this is well
spotted.
I was like, oh my.
Yeah,
well played, Joey. Well played.
This is the one from the film. This is one that I actually was given by somebody recently, and so it's not an exact duplicate. It's the same color and the same model, but there's some modifications.
No, it's not the same chainsaw.
It's not even the same.
No, a good fan can know.
Oh,
that was some uncomfortable silence.
It was used though as a stunt chainsaw. So,
but the chainsaw from the original movie is in this film. I mean, it is the one that's used. So, I mean,
the original chainsaw from the film is the one they used for the film.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. And we actually had it here at the studio a couple weeks ago for a shoot. So,
and we didn't play around with it at all.
No, at all.
Yeah, not at all. Nothing. No, nope. You guys wouldn't do that.
So we never do anything like that.
We also have quite a few comments coming. We also have quite a few comments coming in. We have CJ Schweigert saying this movie was gnarly, loved it. We have Hermit Sal saying outstanding, and we got some hearts coming from Sally the Zombie Cheerleader, so it's always good to see. We have Glenn Shirley saying hello. We have also Hermit Sal is asking, how long did it take to film?
Well, the actual photography was the principal shoot was about 6.5 weeks, if I recall. And then we did pickups for about a month, for about 4 weeks in May.
Yeah, it was May.
I think it was in May. So, altogether it was about 10 weeks.
And they built an entire city. That whole city that you see in the film was built for this movie over in Bulgaria.
Yeah, again, I've got to give props to Michael Perry for that.
Yeah.
That
It looks awesome.
That set was amazing.
It looks awesome.
The construction guys in Bulgaria were incredible. It really was like walking into a small rural town in Texas. I mean,
Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of so much minute detail in that set that I haven't seen the film yet, so.
Oh, so you're getting a spoiler.
No, I have.
I have no chance to see it yet.
I have,
but I lived it, so it's all good. But there was so much.
You saw the film.
Yeah, I did. But there's so much tiny detail in that set that I don't even know how much of it you pick up in the film. But Michael did a great job on that. Yeah,
that's a really good point. And because it is so hard hitting and punches and gnarly. It is. It's gnarly, and there's going to be that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to watch this over and over again, just because there's a lot that you're going to miss.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting little nugget.
There's loads of little Easter eggs in that film. People have spotted it already, but
from the original.
Well, no, but things like registration plates, the population of the town. There's all sorts of Easter eggs hidden throughout the film, so people have been very.
Nice.
You got to kind of watch it a few times to find the Easter eggs.
Okay,
Yeah.
So what Martin is saying is there's quite a few Easter eggs in this.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
George, what else you got out there?
We have a little something from Horrorfest saying, since you guys were talking about how gnarly everything was, he said the look of the mask was perfect, pure nightmare fuel, and it's been over a decade since Leatherface has been this scary. So that's always a great thing to see.
Nice.
And
Talking about this mask right here, right?
There you go.
There we are.
Yeah.
That's our boy right there.
Jackie Blood also chimes in saying, in my opinion, he was a hero avenging his foster mother and her rights.
I agree with that 100%.
We love Jackie.
I totally agree.
Yes.
That's what made this movie for me, was that I looked at Leatherface a whole nother way this time. It was great.
And Horrorfest also chimes in saying so much expression came through the mask. It was so effective and the most expressive mask of the franchise. We could finally see the humanity in his eyes. I don't think it has been done that well since the original. So that's a huge compliment right there.
I mean, really, yeah, and and like at the end. No, I won't spoil alert the end because the end's the end. But it's like every one of these iconic characters. Does he ever go away? Not really.
Hopefully not.
No.
Hopefully not.
They don't ever go away. But anyway, you can really see the emotion in his eyes.
Yeah.
In one of these end scenes.
Yes.
So, and throughout, really.
But I think David too was was very keen on doing a lot of close-ups too. Because I don't know how many close-ups you see in the original films. I mean, there's some, but they went quite macro on some of these shots. They got really, really close to his eye. And I think David was really keen on because Leatherface is a complete freight train in this film.
Right.
But there's still little moments there where you got to put a little bit of humanity into that character. And I know there are certain beats that David was trying to get to at least show this is a human being. You can't forget that this is a man who does terrible things. I mean, he's running around with a chainsaw cutting people up.
Right.
But
there's that.
But at the same. But at the same.
There's
that.
But it's weird how people root for him.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's that.
I was rooting for him all the time, and I don't know if it's just because we made him, but ultimately the way they set him up, you felt for him so much. For at least for me, I was like. Right. Yeah, these people, maybe he went a little too far, maybe, but, he was justified. Mom was taken away, and that was the last bit of string of sanity left in him. And you got that. You got that. And David did a great job as Ricardo. I mean, that film is beautiful. If you stop each frame of that movie, I mean, it's a picture. It's a really beautifully made film.
Right. I agree.
Yeah,
really cool.
Diaz, the DP. Some of those shots, honestly, even on set, they were like paintings. The way everything was lit. It was often, in the monitors, things can shift a little bit. But I don't think there was a single time I ever walked on that set where it just didn't look like a painting, like a John Constable painting. And again, those guys worked so laboriously hard. I mean, both Rick and David, like 7 days a week, were in the hotel, constantly making notes, constantly storyboarding, constantly coming up with ideas. I mean, I always say this, and you always hear this. People always say, "Oh, you know, I loved everybody on this film." But the truth about it is there's always some jackass on the film. But this film, I'm telling you, every single person was absolutely pulling in the same direction to make the best film they could.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been on a set where, whether it was like props, wardrobe, DP, everybody was talking, everybody was collaborating, everybody was trying to put the best film forward that they could.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, even when I came back and I said to you, look, I've never been on a set where I had such a positive experience.
Was that out of the gate with the pandemic? I mean, how far was that into the pandemic?
Oh, that was.
Well, we were a few months, yeah.
Well, you didn't go on.
There was
you
a lot
didn't go
of
on set until about 6 months after, right?
About 6 months, yeah.
Because we started.
Yeah.
We got about a 3-month build time for everything.
Yeah.
And then we got everything, and Martin took a lot of the stuff with him because shipping at that time was
wacky.
Was almost impossible. So, but yeah, it was about 6 months before we waited.
So
it was at the height of all of this.
If you think about it, because a lot of people pulled together. Either people went the opposite way,
closed the doors and went inside, or they were
pulled together, right?
Yeah.
They were, had more humanity. So maybe that's why, just an observation. That's all.
Yeah.
George, did you have more questions? I want to make sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We got another one from CJ Schweigert asking, any stories from the Richter kill scene?
Has to take a sip of water for this one.
Scene.
Yeah, so that was I'm going to give more props to Chris Ritvo, who was the head of VFX on that. That was a hybrid between a dummy and basically a scan of Mo Dunford's face, which was laid on top of the dummy. But that, I have to be honest with you, even surprised me on the day because I thought it was going to be like one impact with the hammer, but it was just one after another. Another. And that was an intense set to be on at that point because it was one of those moments where everybody just went quiet on set. Nobody really knew what to say. I mean, it was pretty brutal, obviously.
Right.
But again, it's one thing to read it on a script. It's another thing to actually witness that happen, even on a dummy.
Yeah.
It was a brutal moment.
It's a weird vibe when you're on set. You
Yeah.
see it happen because it kind of feels real.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, it's one of those things where you think, is this ever going to make it into the film?
Right.
Because it was that brutal. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I was happy to see that it did. But again, Chris Ritvo did a great job on that. I mean, he's a complete master at what he does. But that was a great gag, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, notably, again, they're talking about the kill scenes. The fans are going crazy over the kill scenes. So, so some of these things that might not have made it in before are just making it.
They made it in this one.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to do, because we had a great team on this, and we couldn't have pulled this off, especially during the time we did without these guys coming in. So I just want to real quickly give credits to my guys that came
talk
in.
to us about the team.
So we had Doug Brown, we had Melanie Eckner, we had Daniel Crawley, we had Chris Gallagher. Chris Gallagher's a longtime friend of ours, did all the teeth. We had Maya Aoki.
Yep.
That's right. Dalton Kutch, Richard Mayberry, Christine Mansfield, John Donahue, and Miles Tavis, and every one of those guys and gals just knocked it out of the park for us.
They did. They worked overtime for us. They really
hair
did.
pieces, teeth, silicone runs. I mean, it was, and we did a lot of runs because we knew that when Martin got there, not only was he going to have to do, Mark's makeup, but there's going to be stunts also. So we had to have enough for stunts and guys in stunt suits. So we sent over 25 different faces. Was it almost?
I think it was more, but
we sent more afterwards. But we initially sent 25 to start.
The initial shipment was about that.
And teeth also. So I mean, there was a lot of faces.
The mask because there's actually almost 20 different looks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how many actual masks were there?
I think we had just over 30 in the end, but everyone was used. There was not one spare.
And every single one of them had punched eyebrows and punched lashes and all this detail in them. So it wasn't like just, get a silicone piece out, paint it and throw it in a box. I mean, it had to go through this whole process for all the detail. And it was
30 masks.
Yeah, it was, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because again, continuity meant that, for everyone, for Mark, of course, the hero, there might have to be a stunt backup. So I'd have to hand paint the blood on each mask to match, because the thing is, like on a film like this, because there's blood flowing everywhere,
Yeah.
you can't predict it. Because initially, when we were prepping, there was a huge concern of the entire production, like how do we keep up with blood continuity?
Yeah.
And I didn't have an easy answer for them. It's like, I don't know.
That's
I don't
amazing.
know how that blood's going to fly, because if physical effects are firing blood out of a blood cannon, or if they're firing it out of a fire extinguisher, I don't know how it's going to predict or how it's going to land on the mask.
Yeah.
Blood gags are hard.
Well, the funny thing
You
is,
can't gauge them. They're hard. They don't. You can't really know what to expect. You hope it goes a certain way, but they're really hard on set.
but again, yeah, I mean, like we
This
had,
movie was nothing but blood.
well, we ran out of blood. Everybody ran out of blood.
Yeah, I was going to ask
I mean,
you,
it was-
like when we're talking about blood, which we are, if you're are you literally talking about blood cannons and
Oh, it was everything. Yeah, every type of gag in the book. I mean, the physical effects department did a fantastic job of building a lot of blood rigs.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were times where, like, if there were splats across the face, like there's a scene
you
where
must have been so stressed. I mean, not terribly stressed, but you must
No, I
have
was
really
really
been.
stressed.
Yeah, you must have been.
I was.
I would have been. I would have been like, oh my god, 30 of my mask.
Yeah.
So
I was stressing like crazy.
It's
There was
hard
some-
too because we couldn't get replacement stuff for him.
Yeah.
Like if
Oh,
he
yeah,
had
yeah.
what he had, because if
Yeah.
we couldn't get more things to him quickly if he needed it, and supplies
Exactly.
there weren't like in.
No,
that easy
I
to
did
get
run out
hold
of stuff a lot actually, but there was a makeup team out there run by Anna Andreeva, who's fantastic, and she had a team, Iskra and Yana, who were her assistants, which helped a lot with like just helping me like keep blood fresh on set and shipping me things that I couldn't get, because I did run out of a few things out there, because I don't think anybody expected that we would burn through so many materials.
Right.
And particularly things like blood. I mean, we ran out almost in the first 2 weeks.
There's
Well, I
really
think
no.
when I think when you're
there's
getting
no
a
way to know though. There's
Yeah,
no
I
way to
think
know,
when-
because I remember we were talking about how much blood are we going to need, and we're like,
Nobody.
there's no way to know how many takes are going to happen. I mean,
Well-
we made pastes and gels, and like, because there's blood that has to sit on him underwater, so we had to come up with thick blood
Well-
paste that would actually be somewhat water resistant. And of course, a lot of the films in the rain.
right.
So the
Yeah.
one thing that blood and silicone don't like is water. So often
Yeah.
between takes, I was running in and having to match, hand paint the blood back in. But I was spraying the masks in sealer and various different coatings to try to lock the blood on. It was somewhat successful, but it was just a hell of a lot of maintenance. And of course, we're shooting at night all the time. So, you're running in there with lights and having to light the face correctly, rematch everything from the last scene, get them back on set, seal everything. And then, of course, they're lit in these giant, these rain bars, and they've got this, they had loads of these rain bars. They were everywhere. But immediately it's washing the blood off,
Right.
So you happen to just hope that they can get the scene filmed quick, so you can run back in there and just match everything again for a second, third, fourth take. But yeah, it was
bloody
Bloody
stressful.
disgusting.
bloody stressful.
Yeah,
That it
bloody
was.
stressful.
George, do you have more questions?
Sure do. One from probably my favorite, my favorite name that I see on here. I'm not vintage. I'm grumpy. Asks Todd, tell us about Halloween Wars.
Oh,
Oh.
Halloween Wars. Oh, wow, that's a segue. Halloween Wars.
Random.
Not Texas Chainsaw, but Halloween Wars was fantastic. I got to be on episodes season 7 through 10. I had a great time on there. They ended up changing the format and going a different direction when they got picked up by Discovery Plus. But the times that I got to bring puppets and put makeups on myself, and Shinman and Jonathan and everyone, meeting all the celebrities on set. It was fantastic. So I had a great time. That was a really good time for me on Halloween Wars.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And we have one from Horrorfest saying, there is a photo circulating that shows what appears to be Leatherface laying on the ground reaching for his mask. Lila is holding some kind of bar/tank. Was that of the original ending?
No. I don't know where. I'm not sure where you're seeing that photo. It's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Not sure what that is.
There was some stuff that was shot that wasn't used. There's some stuff in the garage that we shot that wasn't used. I've got to be honest with you. Like I say, I'm going to come clean. I haven't seen the film yet. I haven't had a chance, so I'm not sure exactly what the scene is there.
Well, it's good because we have two of us that have seen it here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
You should go home tonight and watch it.
do you think?
Maybe. It's worth a watch. You might like
I
it.
think I know.
You
I
might
think,
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I
Martin's
know.
like, I lived it.
That's right.
I don't need to watch it. It's like a bad
I
memory.
don't. I think I know what he's talking about, but I'd have to see the still to really to know. But.
Yeah. George, is there another question?
Yeah. Let's see. Vintage is also asking, is Todd going to Palooza?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So guys, we are going to have a full standing Leatherface display, and we're going to have some also display of our other work in the museum at Monster Palooza. So we'll be there all 3 days. So definitely come out and say hello to us and come take a photo with Leatherface.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm moderating.
Oh, that's right.
I'm moderating Monster Palooza this
Yeah.
year. And I came on here and I didn't even say who I was. So I might want to tell you guys who I am.
Yeah, who are you anyway?
So I'm Natalie Popovich, aka Ivana Cadaver. So yeah, but yeah, I'm going to be moderating that. So that's exciting because again, we've been closed down, and I know Elliot.
Yeah, Elliot, who runs Monster Palooza, has been trying to get that thing running, and they've had
Yes.
to cancel like 3 times now. So,
Yeah.
But I think we're going to be good this time. So
I think we are too.
definitely come out and come say hello.
Yeah.
And we're also doing cooking tips with Leatherface.
Cooking tips with Leatherface. It's a new show we're going to
Yeah.
put together.
That's
Macrame with
I was
Leatherface.
That's a good one.
That's what I was looking forward
Yes.
to. You know,
Yes.
yeah, because I'm such a great cook. So
Nice.
And we also have another one here from Hermit Sal asking, in the outdoor scene where Leatherface's mom was found by that lady, is the thunderstorm computer generated image, or was it an actual storm?
Say that question again.
They're,
Sorry.
No, they're basically saying in the movie when Leatherface, right when the storm comes in and starts to cover the movie. It's
That was
probably
there.
Was it
It
an
was
actual storm?
CG.
Oh, it was digital.
Yeah, it was digital. Yeah,
It was digital.
All the weather effects were digital. Yeah, except for the actual practical
rain
physical
stuff.
rain. But yeah,
Yeah.
all the clouds and stuff were CG.
Yeah. Digital
Excellent.
storm.
And we also have Jackie Merson adding, perfect timing for the continuing saga of Leatherface. Interview is well done. That's always good to hear. And Horrorfest also says, you really sympathize with Leatherface. Had these events not transpired, he very well could have spent the rest of his days in solitude.
Mm.
that's right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
CJ
I think he
Schweigert
deserves
also-
another chance myself. I think he was misunderstood.
Hey,
That's just
again,
me.
I just
Tell that to the kids on the bus.
that's right.
True. Yeah.
The bus scene.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We also have CJ Schweigert asking, how involved was Fade Alvarez in the character design of Leatherface?
He was fully involved.
Yeah.
He was fully involved. Even even when I was out in Bulgaria, we would do Zoom calls. Fade was fully involved from the start, and even when we were into testing, because there was a period of days where I was testing the look on Mark, and we were changing things up. Fade was fully involved and we tried all sorts of different things too. There was some masks where we because initially, it's quite a clean cut, but there was some tests that I did where we were cutting more hashes and slashes into the mask and changing the color tones a little bit. And the actual the mask itself is actually attached to an underskull that's covered in Velcro, and you can actually sort of tweak the mask a little bit and reposition it to get slightly different sort of affectations on the face. But we filmed a lot of stuff and took a lot of stills, and Fade saw things, as they were being shot, and he was, giving direction all the time with that final look. So yeah, he was always involved with that.
And then this was a great one because we hadn't worked with Fade before. Fade's company, Bad Hombre, had done the remake of Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, and they're doing some great stuff.
Oh yeah.
We had worked with Herb Gaines, who was at Legendary on the films G.I. Joe Retaliation and Jack Reacher 2, Geostorm. And then he went and started working for Legendary, and he was the one that called us on the job. But then when we found out that Fade was in the mix and we were working with both Fade and Herb on this, it was really cool because it was an open door to meet and work with Fade.
And again, I've got to give props to Herb because he held that production together during COVID, and that was, I mean, nobody knew what they were doing.
Right.
That was such a crazy time. I mean, honestly, when we were trying to get things together, it was nuts. In fact, during prep, all the prep meetings were held on a soundstage, and everybody had to be like 30 foot apart on their own little table.
It was all new.
But it was all new, and everybody was being very, very cautious. But Herb did a great job of running that whole show.
No one got sick.
No one got
No one
sick.
No one got sick.
Amazing.
Do you have a question?
I have a few questions on
Yes.
Somebody asked or says, I'd love to get a better view of inside the mask to see how they would put it on day of set. Show this kind of
I was gonna ask you guys about the true process of these masks.
There's a number of magazine articles that we did that actually, if you check on my Instagram, I'll give you guys links to them. We have photos in those magazines that actually show the silicone appliances. It shows the sculpture of the teeth. It shows a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. So we'll make sure that stuff's available for you guys to check out.
And also, just remember to go to @Todd Tucker Official on his Instagram, because that's where a lot of these pictures are going to be.
Todd Tucker Official, and we'll have a bunch of stuff up there for you to see.
Yeah.
And what else did you have?
They know where to
Another
go.
question is, how does it feel to create such a legacy character?
Stressful.
Scary.
Yeah, I wanted
Honestly,
As scary as Leatherface himself.
well,
Actually.
it was a lot of stress because, like, you don't. It's like I said earlier, like, you don't. I took this really seriously. We all did. I mean, it's a huge undertaking to come up with that mask, and
there was a lot of
always-
question of how people were gonna respond
you
because
always know you're gonna upset people. Like, no matter how hard you try, it's part of the process, But you just hope that you'll strike a note that maybe people will relate to this in the same way they did to the first look.
we also
times have changed.
times
right?
have changed.
You
We
know?
also had a couple different design looks for the hair. At one point in time, the hair was a little bit longer because it was going to be potentially some of the hair left over from the mom character, and we did some designs with that. And ultimately, we just decided that didn't work, and it went to this look where it's the wet down, more flattened hair. But I do think, and what I've been hearing from people is they're really happy with the look. It has a very organic look that matches the storyline and what's happening in the storyline. So I feel like, and as we were reading through the script, it was very clear kind of, the tone, at least in the script, whether the movie translated that way or not, the tone of what this was going to be. So the somber face and having him look just kind of, making the skin and everything look really translucent and real. And I think, it was just, for me personally, I really liked the final look of what he looked like.
At the end of the day, though, it's Mark's performance, because no matter how good a mask can look, you don't want the makeup wearing you have to wear the makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark really, worked that mask. He really embraced it. And, many a time he would put that thing on and he'd just spend a few moments on his own, just, finding that character.
Right.
You know,
Finding the voice.
Mark, if you're out there, great job, man.
Yeah, for sure. But he was a trooper because, again, I got to say, like, a lot of night shoots, the conditions were so cold out there, the blood was freezing. I mean, it was like a lump. You know.
Yeah.
He was a complete trooper through that. Again, it's all outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
It's sub-zero temperatures.
Right.
I mean, he was.
Intense.
Well, when you're covered in blood from head to foot, let me tell you, that is a very uncomfortable place to be in.
Yeah.
So I was constantly keeping him hydrated. We have to spritz him down to loosen the blood up all the time, especially around the neck, because if you wear blood around the neck, it's a very uncomfortable thing. So you'd have to keep getting in it with warm water and spraying him down and keeping his hands nice and lubricated, because he's holding the chainsaw all the time.
Right.
So the last thing is that thing flying out of his hands and hitting somebody in the face.
There were some pretty wild scenes with him throwing that thing around.
Him throwing the chainsaw was something
amazing.
that was really a cool aspect of
Yeah.
his character in this one, because he literally takes the chainsaw if he can't get to you and has a twisting way of throwing it where he
Absolutely.
can kill you from 30 feet. So it's there's some pretty cool things that he does in this film that I have never seen before as far as his character.
Yeah, and it goes back to what Martin was saying about how you're playing this character. You're not just wearing this makeup.
No, and
Right?
Mark brought that to it, and that's I think the combination of Mark's performance, the look of the film, the direction. I mean, it just feels like for me, it just really clicked.
It clicked.
I was into it. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask, it was a very good question. I wanted to ask you guys, so, you have worked with all these guys. I mean, it's a tight clique. You have worked with so many filmmakers before, and you've done a lot of really big projects. But this is the first horror icon character coming out of Illusion Industries.
Mm-hmm. We've done a lot of different horror films like Ouija and
Yeah, but you're talking about
you're talking about the
big
top
five,
right?
right?
The
That's
five,
it.
because there's the
That's it.
top
You got
five.
Freddy,
Yeah.
you got Jason, you got
You got Michael, you've got Chucky, and you've got
Leatherface.
Leatherface.
And so,
Chucky doesn't count.
No, I'm kidding. No, he does.
well,
I think he does.
He does.
Does he?
I don't know.
Yeah, he does. He does. Chucky.
But I mean, there's a top one. So this is a horror icon. notably.
Yeah.
And so, I wanted to ask
And
you
the
guys.
first.
Right.
Right, the first to
That's
start it.
Arguably.
Yeah, you have to
Arguably.
give Texas Chainsaw props, because literally there was nothing like Texas Chainsaw for the most part back in the 70s when that came out.
Correct.
And that really sprung the Michael Myers, then the Jason. I mean, it really was the beginning of it. So regardless, you got to give Gunner a lot of credit,
Yeah.
because that performance is really what I think
It's unique.
made
Yeah.
that work.
Yeah.
So
Nice man. Rest in peace. Gunnar.
George, do we have any other questions?
We do actually. We have one from, just bringing it right back up here. We have Glenn Shirley saying all the effects were amazing. Great job. What was the hardest prop to make?
Well, we at Illusion concentrated on Leatherface. So there was other companies that did some of the other effects in the film that were locals there in Bulgaria. So prop wise, for us, it was really just focusing on Leatherface for the most part. Now, Martin did supervise the majority of the stuff that was going on set, because he was there and he was the guy that knew everything and knew what was going on. So, but there was other companies that did the props and some of the other gore effects. So we were all about Leatherface.
And
First, those
Brandon,
effects, I will say just quickly though, that it was like a huge combined effort. Like a lot of people worked as a team on that, because sometimes the answers to those gags weren't necessarily there. It's only when you're on set and you see what you're up against and what you're working around that you can really come up with some of those gags.
And there was some digital CG interaction.
There was some
between a few of them,
assistance on certain things, but a lot of it was practical. Yeah. So Fede was very big on that from the start.
Was he?
Everything was kept practical. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a little CG assist here and there. I mean, I'll be honest with you, that the bits I have seen, it's even hard for me to tell. So how much has actually been altered, I couldn't even really tell you myself. I mean, but
You should watch a film for that.
that's very funny. I'll give it a go. I hear it's very good.
I think you might like it.
Yeah.
Leatherface looks good.
Oh, does it? That's good.
Hey,
That's a relief.
Very nice.
Another
question.
good question over here on Instagram.
Were any mask modifications done on set during shooting?
Yes. Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
There were. I had to completely. I told you a few things actually. So there were some adjustments made to the length of the neck, because initially the neck was just a bit too long. So we brought the length of the neck up. I did some color shifts. Actually, you probably don't even notice too much during the movie, but Rich Mabry, the guy who painted these, did an absolutely stellar job on these. But the mask is starting to rot a little bit through the film, right? I mean, it takes place over a very short period of time, but I would darken the mask up a little bit with ink and just sort of like make the mask a little darker during the film. And for the most part, I think, if I remember, it was just changing the length of the neck and darkening the mask up towards the end of the film. But that was about it, I think. That was about it. Yeah.
Now, George, I have a question. How much more time do we have?
we have about 12 minutes on
cool.
this one. For this one,
Let me know when we're at about the 5-minute mark, because I'm going to do our giveaway.
Yeah.
You got it.
Awesome.
We have one here from Brandon Short, who is probably a similar question to the prop one, but was asking, can you tell us what brand of clothing Leatherface wore? Mainly the shirt.
Brand of clothing for the shirt.
Oh, I don't know. That was all. So the aprons, I believe, came in from the US here.
San Diego, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
Or
if memory serves.
There's
me.
some kind of weird, like, old vintage apron that they put on him that they found in some San Diego, I think it was some warehouse or
Interesting.
something.
The shirt, the pants, and the boots came from the US. I think they were Timberland boots. They actually came from the US. The shirt and the pants were sourced locally, as well as the workman's pants. I think we call them dungarees in Britain, but like the farmers overalls,
Right.
they were found out locally in Bulgaria.
If anyone does know where that stuff is, let me know, because we're building a statue and I got to find a shirt, an apron,
That's
and
not
pants.
true. He dresses like Leatherface on the weekend.
It does. True.
All right. I admit it. Any
Another
more,
question?
George?
Yeah, we have a comment from Eddie Lopez saying you guys did Leatherface justice. Great work. The bus scene is already an early contender for best horror scene of 2022. I expect to see lots of Leatherface masks come Halloween, which is always good. We have Mark Burnham chiming in saying Martin worked his
Yes!
ass off for
Oh,
7
Mark.
weeks, 24/7. I was so impressed by his stamina and professionalism. Boom. There you go, right there.
Oh,
Nice.
amazing.
Leatherface himself, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
There you go, Mark. Thank you so much for chiming in. This is so cool. By the way, just as a quick aside, I'm having a blast with this, and everything's going great. So, thank you to all of you for chiming in with your comments, with your questions. All of this is fantastic. Hermit Sal with a big one saying, "What was the most difficult scene to shoot and why?"
Bus.
The bus.
Bus,
really?
hands down. So there was 2 buses. There was the practical bus that you see that drives into the town, and then they built a whole nother fake bus in a soundstage in a swimming pool
Oh, wow.
because there was so much blood
Wow.
that between take. Well, first problem is that because of COVID, we could only shoot for like 30 minutes.
And then you'd have to stop, right? And they'd have to clear out the set.
Clear out the set,
Yeah.
and because it was a contained space, they
Right.
have to disinfect everything. Let it sit for another 30 minutes,
Wow.
and then get back in to shoot again.
Wow.
So on top of which, you got a team of guys going in with like floor cleaners, like squeegees, to actually like mop all the blood out between each take,
Wow.
prep the bus again, and then get all the extras back in the bus. It was just logistically
Intense.
It was a nightmare.
The reset on that was
It was crazy.
crazy.
Poor David, like, you know, I think for David it was. I wouldn't say it was frustrating, but like, you know, as a director, you know, I was
Yeah,
watching him.
you're
He's,
focused on something.
he's locked into getting a moment, and then suddenly you hear, right, clear the set, and everybody would have to.
Right.
That has to jerk you out of your flow.
100%.
You know, as you're on a
Yeah.
flow and you're doing a scene, I mean, to have to stop because of those reasons.
And that's that new world.
It
Yeah.
is.
Right.
But,
It
but
is.
for Mark too, I mean, for everybody involved, like, you know, you're all invested in those moments because, look, you know, it's intense, you know.
Yeah.
And everything's, you know, filmed in parts and sections, right? So it's not like you start with the beginning and end with the end. It's like you might start with the end
Of course.
and finish at the beginning. So like all the continuity on the inside of the bus has to keep
But
changing.
you have to think everything backwards that way, though.
Exactly.
You have to start from the worst point scenario potentially and go backwards rather than building up. So that's where it gets really, really difficult
Yeah.
for continuity.
But that bus was crazy. And again, I have to give props to Michael Perry because that bus was like the camera had to go into so many different parts of that bus.
Mhm.
And so much of that bus could be taken away, you know, and pulled apart. And you could get cameras in. I mean, it was a marvel to watch that thing.
I agree, though, and when you see it, it is that bus scene is absolutely the thing that everyone's going to be talking about.
100%.
Yeah.
I've already gotten so many comments about the bus. You know, just talking to friends and,
Right.
and, you know,
And it's funny because in
everybody
the
talking about
ad,
that bus.
they show everyone, you know, pull out their phones and take a picture, and they make it seem like it's a funny moment.
Yeah.
And they kind of almost made the movie seem like it might be a little humorous.
Yeah.
Not a chance.
Yeah.
That's the only
it's intense.
time in that entire film where there's anything that's even remotely funny.
Yeah.
But man, the flip side of that moment is probably, I believe, one of the new horror great cult moments.
Yeah. I mean,
David
Might that not have happened?
and Ricardo just killed that one, and Mark.
yeah, I'm like, might that not have happened in today's world? You know,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. George, any more questions?
We got time for one more question. Now, you know, like everyone else who's chiming in with their comments and questions, I'm going to be reading those as well when we cut over to the post-game show.
Got it.
And so don't think you're being ignored or passed over or whatever. Your comments, everything will be read at the next hour. But we got a big one here from both Jackie Blood and Sally the Zombie Cheerleader, both asking around the same thing. Will there be a sequel to this movie? Since there seem to be a few more in line to be made, will there be a continuation of this current timeline?
Please let there be a sequel.
I've got some ideas.
Yeah.
Leatherface in space.
Leatherface. Well, no, I think Leatherface Cooking Show is the best.
That could be a good one. That could be
Leatherface
a
Cooking
streaming
Show.
show.
Yeah.
Streaming show.
Yeah. I don't know.
and
I mean,
what would Leatherface make?
he would do lasagna.
Lasagna.
Yeah, he's a
Lasagna.
lasagna.
That's lasagna for Americans.
That's
by
right,
the way.
lasagna. I like
Lasagna.
better.
We are hoping, when Netflix picked it up, we were assuming that this would get a theatrical release, but then when Netflix picked it up, we were like, oh, it's going to go through Netflix. But then they promoted it and they seemed very, very excited about it. So we're hoping this is the beginning of a lot more Texas Chainsaw to come.
It's up to you, the fans.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
guys like it, let them know.
Yeah.
We'll make it more.
All right. And we are at the 5-minute mark. So let's do some giveaways here.
All right, so guys, like I told you, if you went on my Instagram, we were going to give you a giveaway. We're what we're going to give. And
Lunch with me.
well, no, actually, a piece of your artwork though. I
Yeah,
can't give. Unfortunately,
it's amazing.
I unfortunately cannot give away anything from the film. I will get in trouble for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to give
This
you.
is all your name.
That's not my name. I don't want this stuff. So what we're going to do, Martin's going to pull a name from you guys going on my Instagram, and you're going to win. Well, actually, let's pull the name, and I'll show you what you're going to win.
I was gonna say,
No,
No? Oh, sorry, whoever that was.
Yeah.
this one.
All right. Read it, Natalie.
all right, let's see here. Hold on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hide it behind the boots.
you got it.
I'm gonna hide it behind the. All right, it is Andy Mink.
Andy Mink, you have won. Let me show you.
F3. I probably shouldn't give out his handle, but
No, that's probably not. You are going to get a Terror of Hallows Eve, our film and shirt DVD. You're
Here we
also
go.
going to get a virtual tour of the studio, and
Wait,
you're going to
that's
get this. I know it's yours.
I'm kidding.
And this is an original art piece that Martin
That's
did
amazing.
years ago. There's a one of a kind. This is the only one that exists, and
Wow.
you just won. This was a design for Grayskull that Martin did years ago. It's a really cool piece. I'm so sorry I'm having to give it up, but I'm going to give it to you. Congratulations.
I'd have entered if I'd have known
And-
that prize.
I know, right? And I'll force him to sign it
that's
too.
amazing.
Awesome. Congratulations. And we'll do a
Congratulations.
virtual tour with you and show you some more Leatherface stuff.
Yes.
We'll reach out to you and make sure that happens.
Congratulations, Andy. Yeah, that's
Andy,
amazing.
fantastic.
I've seen this in here a long time.
It's been here for a while.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
been here for
yeah,
a while.
That's great.
So any last questions, George? Are we good to go?
I've got one more. This is from Ugo M, who is asking. Did it just? Okay, here we go. Saying, did you guys enjoy the political side of the movie? Did you think it was bold in this time and era?
I got to be honest with you. I just enjoyed the film. I
I
didn't
think,
really.
right, exactly.
I didn't really pay attention to it. I just sat back and
agree.
tried to watch the film as a fan, not as
Absolutely.
somebody that was involved in it. And I just didn't really pay attention to the politics. I just
And-
enjoyed the ride.
That's right. And for me, what I really paid attention to was just, well, I couldn't help but pay attention to it, was really what this is promoting are these kill scenes. And honest to God, notably Leatherface.
Right.
Like everybody's talking about Leatherface. So for me, that was, and I'm coming to the studio to do this. So for me, I'm like, that's where it's at. So no, I just was entertained by the movie. And I love the fact that it was 80 minutes of just gnarly,
Yeah.
like hold on to your seat because you just strap in because this is happening.
And I want to say thank you to everyone at Legendary, Bad Hombre, everyone
Yes.
involved in the film. My guy Martin here for knocking it out of the park. My team here at Illusion Industries for helping me pull this whole thing together. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy the Leatherface character. Hopefully there's a lot more to come. And we really appreciate you guys joining us today.
Yeah, we thank you so much for joining us for TCM Talk, and it's all things Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's on Netflix right now. It is trending number 3, and notably, we are here at Todd Tucker's Illusion Industries, and this is an amazing congratulations to you guys for doing Leatherface.
Thank you.
Yep. So thank you guys for joining us, and
And here's a little piece for you as we go out.
Sure.
You can check this
Now
out.
remember, guys, stick around for the post game party, because we got myself from Excelsior Journeys. We have Michael B chiming in from Terror Talk. This is going to be a whole lot of fun. Do not go anywhere. We got a lot more to have some fun with. But in the meantime, it is the after party.
Leatherface after party here at Illusion.
All you guys have backstage passes for. In the meantime, take a look at this. Take a look at this video right now.
Thanks for joining us on TCM Talk. I hope you had a good time. As we mentioned, Martin Astles was the on-set makeup artist for the feature film. But a few weeks back, I had the honor of doing the Leatherface makeup for a promotional shoot. Check it out. All right, guys, so we are here with the finished Leatherface. You look beautiful, sir. All right, everyone, so I had the honor of doing Leatherface makeup today. To be honest with you, he's not a bad guy. He hasn't killed anyone all day long. I feel like we've bonded with this. What do you think?
And we are back, and it is time for the post-game party. If there's really no better way to say it, this is George Soroy over here from Excelsior Journeys. Thank you so much for being here. We have been spending the last hour chatting with Todd Tucker and Martin from Illusion Industries, and it is my pleasure to once again give some big shout outs to my monthly co-host, the horror host from the West Coast, the lovely Ivana Cadaver. Ivana, this was awesome.
Thank you, George.
I am so thrilled that you offered this opportunity to put this whole thing together. This, like you were the spearhead on that.
I'm sitting here with the masters of makeup. So, hey, I was just telling them the masters of disaster,
yes.
Martin says.
And a big shout out to Michael B for sitting back here. I am so looking forward to hearing what you got to say over at Terra Talk. Welcome, Michael.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me. It was great watching that first hour. I'm looking forward to this post game now.
Excellent,
Awesome, thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we have quite a few different chime-ins from a lot of different people. Just kind of taking a look through the whole run over here. People, a lot of the questions have already been asked, and a lot of people are really excited. Saying Vintage chimed in saying, "Nice job on the decapitated heads, Todd."
Oh yeah.
Well, let's be honest. Actually, we didn't make the decapitated heads.
No.
Again, we concentrated on Leatherface. Those were made by some of the local guys there that were jumping in and helping on some of the practical damage effects, as the victim effects, I guess is what you would say.
Well, definitely,
they
definitely get a shout out.
They did look great, though. They did a great job.
Oh yeah.
I got to be honest with you. I mean,
there's some CG in there too.
right. Well, there's a combination of digital, and the digital company that they brought on for this film did a fantastic job. There's some combinations of digital practical
Mr.
effects.
X.
Mr. X right there. So some of those practical effects has some assist, but man, that stuff just looks really good and is really effective in the film. So we're happy to know that that turned out really good too.
And I see some emojis coming in from Mark Burnham. I see flowers. I see hammers. I see some smiling devil faces with some thumbs up. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that's a good thing. And
hey,
guys,
Mark, think about it. How cool is it?
Awesome.
How cool is it that Leatherface himself is actually chiming in on our little
seriously.
conversation
That's great.
here?
That's right.
This,
cool.
I gotta say, this is a really cool book. I gotta say, this is a really cool bookend because back in 2000, 2001, I had the pleasure of briefly meeting Gunnar Hansen himself and getting his autograph on an 8x10. That was from Chiller Theater over by Secaucus in New Jersey. So,
Oh wow,
that's
so
this is definitely some great bookends over here.
I met Gunnar years ago with Butch Patrick, aka Eddie Munster, and so I was just a young ghoul back then. And no, I met Gunnar, and I felt like I was 15 years old. He was such a big dude, right? And I met him in Ohio. I think we were doing like some convention in Ohio. He was just the nicest man.
nice.
He was just it's a nice soul, just a very nice soul. So yeah,
That's cool.
Gunnar, I miss him.
Guys,
Yeah,
we've had
lots
somebody
of-
wait. We've had somebody wait in T. Clifton wanted to know if Ivana would put the mask on.
Yeah.
Wow. There you go.
Go for it. Go for it.
There she is, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a good
Oh, I
look.
look
Leather Ivana.
I'm ready for my close-up.
Ivana leather.
I'm ready.
There you go.
I'm ready for my close-up.
Ugo M is also
All the
asking,
shenanigans.
did you go?
Right?
Ugo M is asking, did you go with silicone for the mask? Was it plasteel gel? It looks so realistic.
Yeah, so initially, that's a good question. Initially, we were going to go with foam because it's lightweight and, it's got that old school feel. And initially, in the early stages, we definitely did tests with foam latex, but obviously it's a freshly skinned face, so it just wasn't advantageous. And here's the other thing too: when I realised a lot of it was shooting in the rain, it would have been a bad deal to have used foam latex. Foam and water obviously they're a great combination. They like to absorb each other. So silicone obviously is more resistant. And obviously we knew there were scenes where the mask could be underwater potentially. So all around it was just better to use plat gel for the masks. And again, Dalton Kutch, the guy who ran these masks, he ran a whole bunch of different types of tests. We had different deadeners, we had different densities. The one that the infamous shot where he holds it up into the sun, we called that the jelly skin, but we made a much thinner skin for that had a lot of back detail, all hand painted into that. There was also, in fact, actually, if memory serves, we had 3 different densities of mask for this too.
Right.
So there was never really one material or one type of density or one type of silicone ran for the masks. There were a few different ones depending on what the scene dictated.
But the face that he puts on, we see it in the film. He's taking the face off his mom and putting it on fresh right there. So it really, the silicone has that translucency that looks like fresh, real skin, and even photographs with translucency. So you can kind of tell the difference. So it was important that it really felt like it was brand new, fresh, severed skin.
But it is a departure from that original look because a lot of those original masks were foam.
They didn't have
and
silicone.
latex too.
Yeah, they didn't really have the silicone materials back then, so everything was foam back then. But they also didn't have the cameras that shot it the way this was shot. So you have to, had to evolve with the film.
I wanted to say the consistency. We're talking about consistency. Just you putting that on my face. That's it's pretty dense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
But it's kind of. I mean,
They're heavy.
but it kind of fit my face.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's kind of very good job.
Yeah, well, there was actually, as I said, it was a little bit of engineering. It wasn't as simple as the mark. Some engineering, understructure, which Todd said. I mean, I guess if you go to
At Todd Tucker Official.
Oh yeah, so that.
Yeah, you'll see the
pictures with it.
You can see the pictures of a lot of this stuff, guys, at my Todd Tucker Official Instagram. You'll see photos of the actual silicone faces lined up on the face forms, and you'll see a bunch of cool behind the scenes stuff. You can check it out. But yeah.
And we also have Jeff Coyle asking. Jeff Coyle asking, will the mask be for sale at Illusion Industries or Trick or Treat Studios? I guess maybe replicas.
So we are not selling this mask. That would get me in so much trouble, and I would like to do a sequel potentially if it's possible. As far as something happening with Trick or Treat Studios, that would be a licensing deal with the studios, and if that was something they would want us to do, we would be happy to do that. And by the way, Trick or Treat Studios is a great mask company, and they have all kinds of great masks. You guys should check it out. They actually have our Terror of Hallows Eve characters on their website. So check out Trick or Treat Studios.
Yeah, you
Oh,
have
nice.
the Terror of Hallows
Yeah.
Eve, all the masks.
One of the
wish they
best.
could see- exactly. I
Yeah.
wish they could see them over there. But Jeff Coyle actually did. You asked me about Jeff.
I didn't exactly
Jeff,
hear what you said. It's an appropriate comment.
You did a picture of Todd.
Oh, that's Jeff.
That's Jeff.
Oh, Jeff. Oh,
Yeah,
thank you
and
very
so-
much for the artwork. That was really
so
cool.
Todd said, "Who's the guy that did the artwork?" Because I sent it to Todd when you did it, and he said, "Who's the guy that did that?" I said, "Oh, he watched
A warning
the show,
against stuff.
Macabre Theater." And anyway, I'm going to put you guys in touch.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. That was a really cool
Yeah.
artwork. Thank you.
Michael, do we have any questions over on your end?
There we go. We had a comment from one of our viewers, George. He was just saying that he loved the bus scene, mowing down the alternative lifestyle. Gen Xers was a great scene. So you guys got
I love that scene, man. That scene was great. There's one scene in there, or one piece in there that I just really stuck in my mind because it was shot so well. And I'm watching for that stuff too, because as a director, I'm watching how shots connect and everything, and they did such a great job. There's a girl that is climbing out a window, and they start inside the bus, and then they pan over to the outside of the bus, and she's halfway out, and you see him in the window sawing her in half, and then her half of her body falls out of the bus into the ground.
Yeah.
It was just
Gnarly.
I mean, it's just gnarly.
Gnarly.
The violence definitely pays off for you guys if you are fans of the original, for sure.
There's a real viciousness that that really comes from this. I mean, and that goes all the way back to the very beginning of this whole series. Like that moment, I still remember, the mallet scene from the original film.
Yeah.
With the once he the kid drops and everything, Leatherface pulls him in, the metal door slams shut. Like that's one of the most viscerally terrifying scenes that I think I've ever seen in a film. So like that was awesome.
Infamously, there's really very little blood in that first film.
It's you know,
That's
though,
true.
but you know, it's not about the blood though. It's about the aggression and,
It is in this
and the
one.
scariness of how, you know, it's like having it's like having a really scary, you know, drunk dad who's going to beat the crap out of you. It's that you know, that kind of a thing where it's just really it's the anger behind the face that I think is really what makes Leatherface in this movie for sure, because this movie moves.
Yeah, look, in
There's
this, yeah, in
it's an action film horror
100%.
kind of.
In this film, it's like, honest to God, like strap in, you know, because you're it's like it's just like it's ongoing gnarliness, not gonna stop, and just when you think it's gonna be okay, it's not. But it starts that way out the gate.
But it's not. It's
with the girl.
right off the bat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the fiance. What's the character's name? The girl, the blonde. Sorry.
I'm forgetting her
And
name.
yeah, the girlfriend. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Todd's daughter.
Yes, getting information is very
Yeah. But at any rate, no, right out of the gate, it just starts, and it's just like strap in. It's gnarly, and that's why I like the fact that it's 80 minutes.
It
long.
goes fast. I mean, even like that's even the bus scene. I mean, it goes on for a while, but it's boom, boom, boom. I mean, there's no like just lingering on you know, blood and guts. It's happening really fast.
It reminds me of Peter Jackson's King Kong way back in the day. I mean, it's not way back in the day, but Peter Jackson's King Kong was kind of like you never got a break, and it's not, you know, it wasn't graphically gnarly like this, but you never got a break with that. It was just, you know, Jack Black, and it was one scene to another scene, and it was kind of what, you know, we had said back then was exhausting. You were exhausted after it, you know.
Right.
So this had the same kind of feel, modern day, but a horror movie where it gets to just be like, you know, but I knew that was going to be the case.
But instead of it being
the case.
3.5 hours long,
100%.
it's barely under an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you want more.
So
So
good.
it's cool. It's
Yeah.
very cool.
So good.
You did
And,
actually watch very quick. We're very fast.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You were following, and next thing you know, like, yeah, it was. I did want a little bit more.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing though. That's a good thing.
Yeah, it was.
100%.
Hopefully that means we'll have a sequel where we can get that more.
Yep.
Yeah. And how do you guys feel about what, you know, I mean, doing this iconic character for Illusion Industries coming into 2002 and new business coming in? I mean, this is just a real, because really the star of this movie is Leatherface.
You know,
Legit.
it's great. I mean, as a company, it's great because to have a title character like this and hopefully have a good response for the most part. And of course, there are going to be people who aren't going to like it, and I expect people to not like it because it's not everyone is going to love our design. But ultimately, I think that it's a really good thing for us. The timing is great because, like you said, we haven't had this type of a title character before. And hopefully this does bring off more Texas Chainsaw stuff. We'd love to keep doing this.
Yeah, you know, it's tough with sequels, requels, and reboots, right?
Yeah.
Requels, right?
And
So
this franchise has it all. It's got the sequels,
mean,
it's got
right.
the requels, it's got the reboots, it's got, you know, like, yeah.
it's a tough thing. I mean, it's kind of like even with like Rob Zombie and him casting Sherry Moon, his wife, in it.
Right.
He got so much blowback from that. The movie's not even out, but you know, notably, Quentin Tarantino, back in the day when he first started, people were bashing him for what he was doing. Now he's a genius.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. I
always liked his stuff though.
I think though the
by way.
violence in this is interesting because the violence in this,
Yeah.
Because we watched it last night,
Yeah.
and I watched it with my wife and daughters, and I was like, man, is this going to be too much? Because I don't know if sitting down and watching the original with them would make me feel comfortable. But this movie just moved so fast that like there wasn't time to overly focus on the entrails coming out of the body that just fell out of the window because you were already on to the next thing, you know.
100%.
So it was like it just rock and rolled. So I was real excited.
Do you
at
know
the
the
end of it.
interesting thing with Texas Chainsaw, though, with all the movies, is that people, each movie really reflects. I don't want to get philosophical about
No,
it.
do
but-
because
but-
you have the history behind it.
Well, a little bit, but the thing is like it's interesting because each film really represents where, you know, kind of America has been at that particular time. You know, there's a lot of social commentary in those films, and unlike I think a lot of the other icons, like, you know, the original film has a lot of, flavors of the Vietnam War and where attitudes were politically. But I think each subsequent movie sort of reflects where America was at that time. And in a weird way, I think, this film strangely represents where the world is today, in a lot of ways.
Well, and exactly where you guys were at. I mean, you were working in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, in real life.
Yeah.
Real time.
It's interesting though how the movie pulled in, like cell phones and
100%.
the elements of current day to try to pull
But also,
that
I think
in.
the speed of it. I mean, there's the technology stuff, but I think the speed of it, the fast-paced nature of it, the fact that Leatherface is more of a freight train in this than he was, perhaps in the original. I think, I think each filmmaker brings their own particular signature onto the character, and I do sympathise and I really do understand why a lot of people, get very attached to the Leatherface that they grew up
version,
with, or the one that they remember, and rightfully so. I mean, I there's nothing wrong with that, but it's interesting. Like I think seeing the sort of push and pull on this character a little bit and on the movie, because I think people. They always remember the nostalgia of the one they grew up with,
That's
and I think when they see something that's completely fresh and new, I think there's this initial oh my God, what have you done to my Leatherface?
My Leatherface.
Yeah. But that's to be respected.
Sorry, John.
Yes. Battery change?
Battery change, but microphone still works.
Okay, great. Guys, hey, 1 second. We're going to quickly do a battery change on the camera.
Microphone still works.
Microphone is still going, so go ahead and give us another question, and hopefully by the time you're done, technical Joey, the Wonder Boy, will have this ready for us.
Yep, I can still hear you guys just fine. And this is a perfect opportunity for my question, because I got one for both, Todd and Martin. One of the things that I like to hear about is on my show is what I call the lightning bolt moment. And that's that moment when you either experience something, meet someone, hear something, see something, whatever, that makes you kind of point in that direction to say, that is what I want to do. That is the kind of life I want to live. That's the kind of person I want to be. So for both of you, for Todd and Martin, how the hell did you decide to get into this crazy world in the first place?
I think I speak for Martin and myself when I say it wasn't a choice. It was in our blood. I loved this stuff since I was a kid. I got my first werewolf mask when I was 5. I loved monsters. I loved The Wizard of Oz, Planet of the Apes. I loved The Exorcist at an age I probably shouldn't have seen it. I was a huge and the thing for Martin also and I is that we were at an age where, we were teenagers or younger, depending, when all these great movies like Jaws and Halloween and Texas Chainsaw and Aliens and Freddy Krueger and all this stuff came out. I mean, we were, there wasn't anything like that before that. So we got to go and see this in the movies for the first time in the theaters. And it really, for me personally, it just impacted me and made me want to do this all the time. And it was kind of all I ever thought about. I'm also very OCD and just love, I was an only child who went to the films all the time and would spend entire weekends in the movie theater. So I just loved it from the get-go and was lucky enough to be able to, do this instead of winding up in jail.
Martin, I wanted to be a policeman.
No, Martin.
It was
Tea factory.
That's right.
Black tea.
Black
tea factory.
Coming from Britain was a little different. I don't know. I was into film as a kid. I don't know if necessarily I had ambitions to get in this business when I was little. I did love Phantom of the Opera. I mean, there was loads of things I remember being a huge influence on me when I was super little. But I really wanted to be a fine artist, to be honest. When I was at college. So makeup and creature effects, although obviously they had a long and rich history in Britain, they're much smaller. I mean, we have people like Roy Ashton and Chris Tucker, and these guys were like pioneers back in the day, especially with makeups like the Elephant Man and stuff. So there was a lot of good stuff coming out of the UK, but it was just such a small business, and the possibility of getting into it just seemed so remote. So I went to art school to do fine art. It wasn't like I loved makeup effects and creature effects, but I thought, oh, that's never going to happen.
Amazing.
So.
And how did you two meet?
We met on Tinder. No.
You swiped us.
You said you never tell, you son of a bitch. My wife is watching, and you out me.
Sorry about that.
No.
It's an exclusive Illusion Industries.
Right.
fitting
You
news
know,
there.
you think,
I
you're,
actually-
you think you're coming here for Leatherface and then breaking news.
I know,
You
right?
know,
you guys are a couple.
This is
Frank-
why
last
people
time-
stay for the
That's
after
the
party.
exclusive, not
The
Leatherface.
last time that happened was with Nathan Fillion and Michael Rooker. No joke on the set of Slither. Same thing.
Really?
Yeah, Michael Rooker said, "Well, we're a couple now," and I went, "Oh, breaking news!
That's awesome.
That's so funny."
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's the second time it's happened.
Well,
Sorry about that.
Actually, and this is right. Actually, and you guys probably know this name. My mentor, I had two mentors who taught me how to do makeup effects before I moved here: Matt Rose and Steve Wang, legends in the industry. I was working with Steve Wang. We were in my garage, and Martin came over with our friend Chris Gallagher, right?
Chris, yeah.
And Martin came over, and we met, and he was kind of pitching Steve on something.
I was trying to pitch a script.
You were trying to pitch a script to Steve,
I love it.
and we just hit it off. And then Martin and I both worked as key artists for a company years ago. And then when I broke off from that company and opened Illusion Industries, Martin came with me, and he's been my key artist and my key sculptor ever since. And it's weird because we have a lot of things in common, but our artistic style is very different. But I will say this, and I will give these props out. I've worked with a lot of sculptors over the years. There's some great sculptors out there: Mitch Devane, Miles Tevis, Steve Wang, Matt Rose. I mean, these guys were some of the top sculptors in the industry of makeup effects. I do believe, and I say this honestly, I do believe Martin is potentially one of the best sculptors in the industry.
What? I'm going to get hate mail now. Well, I'm kidding.
So this is another breaking news.
But honestly, guys, I've seen stuff come out of him. So, I mean, and his style is so kind of just weird and cool, weird, twisted stuff that when I made my first movie, Monster Mutt, Martin had done a bunch of cool sculptures of the dog. I was so in my own head that I couldn't see how good those sculptures were, and I ended up sculpting the dog myself. After I finished the movie, I looked back at some of the sculptures that Martin had presented, and I was like, damn, those were better. So when I did the Terror of Hallows Eve, I literally took Martin aside and I said, dude, I'm going to let you design all this stuff. I'm not even going to tell you we'll just talk about things, but ultimately just knock it out of the park and surprise the hell out of me. And then every time I'd walk in the door and see a sculpture of a new character, it was like Christmas. So I'm very lucky to have Martin, and that's why I have held on to him for 15 something years
It's
now.
so sweet. We should definitely elope. Sorry, Val.
Again. So there's my pitch for Martin.
But it is true. You said, because a lot of times, with special effects houses and things, a lot of the main guys, and no names in particular, they don't give credit to their entire team as much as you have told me over and over again. Listen, Natalie, it's Ivana and Natalie. It's so important for Martin to, for you to really emphasize, what a big part he is of this. And so that's really, speaks to who you are, and it speaks to your work.
I spent years working for somebody who took all the credit, and I took the back seat. So I ultimately, when I started my own company, I wanted to make sure there's no reason to not give credit to the guys, because you can't do it as a one-man show. And if you've got really, really talented guys, let the world know,
Right. You don't want to hold people to, 100%.
No, and I have talented people. That's why the work that comes out of Illusion Industries is always top notch, no matter what the project is, whether it's a big studio film or whether it's a smaller project. So
I always tell people that if you have people that move on and do great things, it's really just that's what I want to see.
Yeah,
what I want to see.
Your team is everything.
Yeah.
A one-man show doesn't work.
Never.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody.
And it just so happens that at the same time we have a question from Vintage asking who else works at Illusion Industries.
Well, so I keep a really, really small crew. Basically what happens is Martin and I depending on what's coming in, we will get a script. We'll break it down. We'll start talking about what the effects would be, and then we interact with the director. And then depending on what the show is, both Martin and I go on different shows and either we'll create the stuff and then go on set and apply it. The good thing is we can do more than one show at a time, because I can take a show and then Martin can take a show. We can both facilitate the show and then go on set and either apply it or puppeteer it or whatever it is that we're building. So it's usually Martin, and we've got my tech Joey, who does all of our production stuff. But we bring in artists depending on the project and specific to the project. If we're going to do an old age makeup show, like we did A Dog's Journey a few years back, we brought in Miles Tevis, and Miles sculpted the faces because Miles is one of the greatest old age sculptors in the industry. And if we're going to do something, more cartoony and fun, it might be something that I sculpt. If we're going to do something that is just dark and twisted, that is Martin 100%, which is why Leatherface came right into Martin's hands. So I bring in artists as the project comes in and depending on what we need, but we have some of the best people in the industry working. Chris Gallagher, Dalton.
We've had now the names of
John Donahue.
John Donahue.
I mean, there's a bunch of these guys that are, and they go from shop to shop working on some of the biggest shows, but ultimately, luckily, every time we've needed them, they've dropped whatever they were doing.
We've had Matt.
Jumped in. Matt Rose,
Yeah.
Matt Rose, who unfortunately passed away, was one of my best friends.
Yeah.
So we've had some great people. I've personally been very, very lucky to have these people in my building.
Awesome.
And I wanted to make sure, Mike, with Terror Talks, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I've been waiting patiently.
Yeah, I was actually about to cede the floor to Mike, so that way
we still
give
have
him all
good
the
35 minutes, so I wasn't rushing.
Yeah, no,
I got a question here
from. Hold up.
We got a question here from Andy. It says, how much did Tobe Hooper classic from 1974 influence the effects for the shit show remake? Sorry, guys.
Next question.
Next question.
Next question.
Yeah, guys, you got to please, censor those for me, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, censor that for me. One of the things I wanted to say was the scene with the cell phones in the bus. That actually relates to what I do, because I'm a paranormal investigator and I go live at a lot of things that are actually live. And to see people making comments like, that's so fake, and where did they get this guy while they're actually getting murdered is like.
Yeah, it actually would happen. Like what he's saying is when they're on the bus and all these, they pull their cell phones up and they're like, oh wow, who is this guy, right? And then on the screens of the cell phone, everybody's going, this is so cool. I want to be at this party. Are you kidding me? Look at this. So they think it's fake, and then all of a sudden, this one guy goes, beep, like bleep, and then the killing starts.
Right.
Yeah. So it's so what Mike is saying, basically, what you're saying, Mike, is that basically when you go out and you do your paranormal, you capture things with it.
Exactly. I'm showing I have equipment that's registering live, or I have figures that are showing up on a camera, and we're showing this as like, oh my God, we're actually catching this. And you're getting comments of oh, that's fake, and you guys are using CGI, but it's not. It's real, and we're in it at the moment.
Oh, interesting.
Of course, as always with everything, you're going to have people that are going to try to blow holes in whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
But and I know too, and that there was a lot of question as to that scene being in the movie, as far as whether they wanted to have that whole cell phone thing in there, but they really felt that was a sign of the times. And
it did. It really made it current.
It made it today.
Exactly what we go
whether you
through.
like it or not, it was like Martin said. It's sign of the times of this movie.
Honest to God, listen. Go to a concert, and you'll have somebody like J-Lo, who's she's in her 50s, absolutely stunning, drop dead gorgeous. But she's saying, everybody put down your phones and watch in real time, and it's not going to happen. Because people want to see it on their cell phones. They want to record. That's what they want to do. But that generation is like, J-Lo's generation is like, no, put down your phones. And they're like, no, we want to get it.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yep.
I thought about that. I was like, it's a generational thing.
It is absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So any more questions?
Yeah, we also had Jennifer wanted to know if there was any COVID outbreaks or anything during the filming or anything on set that slowed you guys down.
Not
No,
one.
not one.
Not one.
That's
There was.
awesome.
I think we were the only production shooting in Europe that didn't have a case. In fact, I think we were the only production. There was a couple of other things shooting in Europe, and they did get hit with COVID. But yeah, we didn't have one single case. Not even.
That's great.
Again,
That was Herb.
That was Herb, the producer.
Yeah.
He really ran that very well. And actually, Sean Baden. He's a chap that works for Legendary. He's sort of their COVID guy, but Sean did a great job on that too.
Yeah.
But again, like it was crazy. There was, every single day there were these guys coming in with these Ghostbuster backpacks and spraying everything down. The chemicals that were coming into the makeup room and spraying everything down.
Oh,
with these
wow.
chemicals.
No, that was when COVID first hit. They would only let you shoot for like a half hour at a time, and then you'd have to clear the set, and then they would sterilize the whole set.
No. I'm talking about like they would come into the makeup room after I've done everything, and then spray all my brushes down.
Spray your makeup
and like wreck
supplies.
everything.
Right.
So for the first day or two, I'd come into the makeup room the next day, and everything was soaking wet in this stinking chemical.
Wow.
So it was not. Nobody was trying to do anything wrong, but nobody knew
No,
what
of
they were
course,
doing.
but still, just the
So-
interruption of your process.
Yeah. Well, I had to throw everything out.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
everything was trash. So,
Oh, wow.
Sean would he was excellent at coming up with like strategies because there was no protocol for makeup effects.
That's right.
So we had to figure out who was touching what. It was the same for the camera department too. Like, you've got people going in and touching the cameras all the time.
Yeah.
But it had to be streamlined into one particular person doing one particular thing. I'm sure it's all changed now because it seems like most different sets in different countries have different protocols.
Mhm.
But certainly at that time, it was just insane. It was just insane. Like everyone had different zoning, or the zoning thing still exists. But there's no doubt that for our end, because we're touching the actors, I mean, they were super strict on us.
And also, we talked earlier with TCMTalk. We were talking about how David, as the director, how that must have just really creatively, he probably had to get used to that.
Slows the flow down, right? So
Yeah.
you get into that rhythm for him. And again, I've got to give all props to David because he came on the project, and everybody rallied around him and just got him, everything he needed to get that film made. But yeah, there was definitely times, particularly on when we were on sound stages, because obviously in a contained space, it's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So to constantly have to cut every 30 minutes,
Crazy.
get everybody out, and it wasn't like two people in the room. A lot of
It's
times
the entire crew.
it was the entire the entire crew. And again, like I mentioned earlier with the bus.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got like a huge amount of people over that set.
Imagine trying to usher out 50 to 75 people.
Oh,
It might have added to the intensity of this,
Probably not. No, I don't think so. I think it would have just been frustrating rather than fearful.
I was like, it might be nice.
No, that wasn't helpful.
I doubt it.
So I had a question on that set. Obviously, again, for what I do, paranormal stuff. Was there anything ever on set that couldn't be explained? Anything like that?
Any paranormal activity on
Any
set?
paranormal activity? Any weirdness?
Spirits of
no,
Gunner?
we did shoot. The studios we shot in were super old though. I mean, they were pretty old, but not that I recall. No,
No, nothing.
I don't think so. No.
What would you guys even have had the time? I mean,
Well, actually, what's weird? It was quite isolated because everyone's working very separate, and there was a lot of sound stages at this studio, and a lot of long corridors, and it was pretty isolated because nobody could be together,
right.
So you were kind of, I mean, certainly for myself, I had a few rooms, but I was on my own on an isolated part of the studio,
Right.
and I very kind of rarely met people. Mark was obviously, he had his dressing room near to the makeup room. But I mean, him and me were pretty much the only people in that part of the building. So, it was a pretty isolated experience on that level. But nothing ever really happened there that was untoward or weird or,
Right. Right.
Now, we had all kinds of demons flying around the studio here, but they were fine on set.
Yeah, right.
That's on a normal basis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just the average.
just normal.
Yeah.
Todd, earlier on the first show, you had mentioned you were going to be somewhere and people could come out and check you out. Could you say that again for the post show?
Oh yeah. So we will be at Monsterpalooza in June. I believe it is the 3rd, 4th, and 5th
Mhm.
of June, and we're going to have a full Leatherface display. I'm going to be there. I'm going to see if I can drag Martin there.
Too many people.
Too many people. But I'll be
That's
there,
big.
and definitely would love for people to come up and say hello and take a photo with Leatherface.
And Ivana, you're going to be hosting that or
Actually,
moderating?
yeah, I'm actually going to be moderating the entire event, which is going to be great. So I'll be introducing the moderators for a lot of the panels that already have moderators, but then I'll be moderating a couple of panels for Elliot. And Elliot is the founder of Monsterpalooza. So great guy. This Monsterpalooza is, in my opinion, like Monsterpalooza is a place that you can go and you'll find some of the best directors, producers just walking around, unbeknownst to a lot of the people. Like you're going to find some of the biggest names there, with like hoodies and things on like that, because it's so, it's so true. It's the best horror convention in my opinion.
It's also at the Pasadena Convention Center, so it's a big open space. So
It's going to be my next question.
It's going to be. I mean, if you're concerned, about anything COVID, it is the biggest space that they have these conventions at. So it's not quite as compact, so it's a little bit more comfortable to go.
Yeah, Elliot, the owner of Monsterpalooza, the founder, he explained it to me that he was a kid that loved this, so it was kind of like you guys.
He's a fan.
Yeah, it's kind of like you guys. And he said he wanted to bring what you guys brought, but in this type of a form, to be able to share it with all the fans. So that's why he gets some of the biggest directors and producers,
He's also a really, really down-to-earth guy. Like he's
Super.
very non-Hollywood.
Yeah.
He's just a real chill guy. So he's got a lot of people that want to help him out because he's a good person.
Good guy.
Yeah, him and his son.
That's awesome.
We got a couple.
Yeah,
we got a
one of them-
couple of quick questions coming in. Just real quick. Just asking: was Bulgaria always the choice for filming, and if so, why? And was there a reason to shoot there and not in America?
Yeah, it was always the choice to shoot there. I can't comment on the politics. Why? I mean, I don't know. I mean, personally, maybe it may be cheaper to shoot in Bulgaria than Texas now. This business is so strange. It always comes down to tax incentives, and you got to look at crew rates and union deals, and there's so much infrastructure with the politics of making a film now. I mean, and frankly, with technology, you can shoot anywhere now.
They did build that entire town in Bulgaria, which is the sets are still there. So I'm guessing they probably built that knowing that they would use it for multiple purposes. So, it maybe was an investment in building the sets for other things, maybe.
Don't know.
Yeah.
But also, I would say this though, the amount of blood and carnage that really did occur on that set, I'm not entirely sure how that would have happened on location. I mean, thinking about it, there was so much contained. So many of those scenes were contained, and we needed to go from a street set into a soundstage, back onto a street, back onto a soundstage. I don't know, if you on location, it's a big move for production. So I'm not entirely sure, whether it would have been advantageous to have shot in Texas and then done a big, 3-hour production move to go back to a soundstage and then go back out again on location. This was all in one space, and the producers were very smart. They figured that to self-contain everything like this would have been a good way to go.
The other thing too that might have been played into this, I don't know this for sure, but the other thing too is that you have all the unions here. They don't have the unions like that over in the Bulgaria, and the unions, everyone had stopped. There was no productions, for the most part going on. So I don't know that they could have shot in Texas even if they had planned on it at that point. So
you saying because of COVID?
Yeah,
I think they were building the sets before COVID.
So
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they were building the sets because they wanted the sets.
There's a tremendous amount of production in Bulgaria.
Oh yeah,
a tremendous amount.
Yeah,
So
they've been shooting there for years.
It's like a key place to shoot.
Yeah,
there's a lot of great films come out there. I don't, even I didn't realize how much was coming out of there. And I have to say this again, the crew out there are fantastic. I mean, they're hardworking. I mean, they're committed to the art of filmmaking. And nobody there was nothing short of an expert, whether it was set builders, wardrobe, props, and the stunt team. Those stunt guys were amazing on that film. They really were.
Yeah. Nice.
And George, any questions?
Someone, Jay Dredula, was basically confirming what was saying just now, saying, "Yep, like a 10% tax and a 25% rebate, something like that. It's just cheaper there."
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Just the reality of business.
Yep.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
we were a little quiet on that one, but
Yeah. I mean,
it is what it is.
yeah.
Mike, what do we have over on your end?
Guys, we got a couple of people wondering what you guys got coming up next. You got any projects you're going to work on next, or anything in the works?
So we recently filmed another film for Netflix where we created 26 creature characters for a film that'll be coming out this Halloween, I believe.
Okay.
This was a lot of fun. We shot that in Atlanta, and I actually got to play 2 of the creatures myself, and then try to oversee 24 other characters at the same
So
time.
that's a really easy job.
Yeah, right. And then we did a commercial for Florida where we created a number of puppets.
Dog thing.
We did a really fun a stuffed dog that kind of like a something about Mary dog gag for another movie where they had a dog that was just being thrown all over the place and they needed a dog for that.
Not funny.
But we have right. But we have a bunch
like
of
funny.
projects that we're budgeting right now and bidding on, and I also development projects.
Yeah.
And then I am trying to move forward on our next in-house project that I'm going to be writing and directing.
Great. Fantastic. Ivana, everybody's kind of asking what you do. You want to tell us a little bit? You said, let me introduce myself. My name's Ivana Cadet, but you didn't go into what you do.
I didn't. No, I'll tell you what happened. I mean, on the real, I got in here a little late. I got in here when Martin got in here. Seriously, we all got in a little late. Todd was right on time. But so anyway, I came running in here and I literally tripped and fell over the stairs and almost,
Okay.
no joke. And so I had to
Are you a stunt woman?
I am. That's what I do.
Today.
Yeah, today. Yeah. So anyway, I came in here and I quickly changed and I came on. And when I did the introduction, I wasn't quite myself, if you know what I mean. But I am Natalie Popovich, aka Ivana Cadaver. I host a television series called Macabre Theater, and we host independent horror films as well as the classics. Butch Patrick, aka Eddie Munster, has done about 36 shows with me, and I've done in total about 63 shows. The last show that I did was an hour special featuring Todd Tucker's The Terror of Hallows Eve, and that was a lot of fun. And that was right before the pandemic. That was
Halloween before.
Yeah, the Halloween before. So and what's interesting is that, you know, somebody asked, was asking you guys how you knew, how you got into this business, and the Terror of Hallows Eve is really a true story of how Todd got into this business. It's it, right?
Yeah. First half hour is.
Yeah, the first half. I mean, it's fiction, nonfiction, but there's a lot of it. A lot of the Terror of Hallows Eve is him as a kid, and it's telling the story of him and his desire to do this, or you could have been a rock star, right?
That'd be okay. That'd be all right.
Now, I've actually gotten to see Terror of Hallows Eve thanks to Macabre Theater, because I finally got my Roku and everything set up in my office, so I got to actually take the time to watch it. I saw that it was there. I started watching. I really enjoyed it. Really, and I'm not just saying that because you're right here. But
are you sure about that now?
Come on, George.
But I gotta say, that marionette scene just floored me. I absolutely love that scene.
That was the best.
I gotta know, how long did it take to film that? Because it looked like there was so much that went into that scene alone.
Well, we filmed that whole scene in, I think, a day, actually. But we did a lot of, we shot the scene and then we green screen and shot the puppets and digitally put them into the scene. So there's some really nice CG interaction in there, and you really can't tell. It looks like they're really in the shot, but we were very careful about doing that. But I have to be honest with you, when I shot that scene, at the end of the day, I was just thinking about everything that we had shot, and I was like, oh my God, when I edit this, I really hope this doesn't come off comical. I don't know if this is going to be scary or if it's going to be funny. And when I premiered the film at Sitges in Spain, they sold out the theater. They turned away 500 people, and they had people sitting in the aisles. Clearly, no fire, no escape, nothing. Most of the people there didn't even speak English. And I was worried that because the first half hour of it's kind of a setup and it's all back and forth dialogue. And I was like, oh my God, these people are going to lose their mind because there's no real horror in the first half hour. When it came to that puppet scene at the end of it, everyone got up and was cheering.
Yeah.
And I just went, oh my God, thank God. Because I had no idea if that scene was going to actually work or not. But that's the one scene that everyone kind of pulls out of it.
It's kind of
It actually kind of reminded me of Philip's death from A Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Yes.
How like very much like that sort of style. How it just like kind of starts off as one thing and then it becomes something completely, just something like completely out of the ordinary.
Here's something really, really cool. The kid that the puppets kill.
Yeah.
That's his son.
No kidding. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I saw his dad at a convention, and I got to be honest with you. When I found out that he was your son, knowing that, you were killed by puppets in number 3, I think it's really cool that we're killing your son with puppets. And he goes, yeah, I guess so.
It's like, I guess it runs in the family. I don't know, but
yeah, right.
Well, I was going to make a comment.
Yeah.
I was going to make a comment and say, so, because you and I have talked about that scene, that scene for me was like amazing in the movie, right? And you were like, yeah, like the first time we talked about it, you were like, yeah, I didn't know about that scene. So it's kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. The scene's going to be the bus scene. I think in your movie, when those puppets cut the string, that's it. So it was just a really good scene.
Yeah, and the funny thing is all the puppets from The Terror are staring at us right now on the other side of this camera.
Yeah. And I wanted to go back to something else too. Mike had asked a question. What do we plan on doing? So with Macabre Theater, and yes, I did not say who I was because I again came in here and ran in here and tripped and fell, and my suitcase went everywhere. So that was a lot of fun. But Martin goes, no.
That's terrible.
Yeah, my back's a little tweaked, but I'm all right. I'll be all right. But I wanted to say that Mike from Terror Talks, I'm going to be going to New Jersey, and I'm going to go on some ghost hunting paranormal with him, and I'm going to get my hands dirty with this. So we're going to actually get together and do some pretty gnarly ghost hunting and get some things, and we're going to put that on Macabre Theater, which I think is going to be really a more of a real element to Macabre Theater. So it was where we were hosting independent movies. We've done that, and we've hosted all the classics. Not Nightmare on Elm Street. No, I was going to say Roger Corman's Night of the Living Dead. Hello, all those kind of older movies, and we've done some independent movies. We showcased Todd's, which in my opinion was the best movie we did to date. But that was right before the pandemic. But I'm gonna get with Mikey B. That's what I call him. He's gonna kill me for that one. And we are gonna do some paranormal hunting and put it on the show.
Mike, I don't know if you've gone there or not, but both Martin and I had to move to Louisiana for like 4 or 5 months to work on G.I. Joe Retaliation.
Okay.
And while I was there, I went up to Shreveport, Louisiana, and I have never experienced anything with a ghost necessarily. So I'm not like somebody that's going to go out there and say, I've seen stuff, but I saw stuff in Shreveport that you should have filmed.
Wow. Yeah, no, I've never been out there, but
you might want to go there.
Put it on the list to go.
I caught stuff by accident and looked at it on the back end and went, "Oh, what the hell?" So Shreveport's a good place to go.
It's intense. And
wow.
Dean Carr.
Yeah.
Dean Carr. He did a documentary on actual families in Louisiana that do this like haunted house.
Uh-huh.
And but I'm not even going to say. I mean, it's just It's the real deal.
Louisiana's got some pretty great stuff.
Yeah.
If you need footage, you could probably get quite a bit there.
We'll definitely have to plan something. Let's go, Ivana.
Let's do it.
There you go.
You know me.
You
I'm
know
not
that? No, you know. We go to we have some really good ones set up for her. So we're in the
Nice.
I gotta chime in real quick because I am a fan of GI Joe Retaliation, so I'm really glad you guys like worked on that too, because I had a blast with that. I remember sitting there in the theater just saying like, this is so much of this is like what I grew up on. So between the show and the comics and everything, like seeing that all come to life, the fact that you guys worked on that, kudos. So thank you guys for.
To be honest with you, actually, that was also a movie through Herb Gaines, who brought us onto the Texas Chainsaw. He brought us. We had worked with Herb on The Watchmen before I opened up my own company with another company, and then he brought us on GI Joe, and Martin and I both had to move to Louisiana and open up a studio there because he wanted us there for the build, and it was great. It was a great experience. That was really fun working on that.
And that speaks to it's a very small industry within an industry. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, in the effects industry,
Yeah.
everyone pretty much knows who everyone is. So you want to try to keep a clean slate because people can talk very quickly. But
It's a lot of egos.
a lot of
A lot
egos.
of egos in the room.
Showbiz.
But, but it's
Showbiz.
Yeah.
I can't. You know what? If I sit with somebody who's an English accent, it's just gonna happen.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry, Martin.
That's all right.
So sorry.
You'll be speaking
He's
coffee
like,
by 7 o'clock.
would you stop, Natalie?
We were taking bets before whether it was English or Australian.
It's all English, baby.
Cockney.
And it's real, by the way, too. It's not fake.
Where is it? Is like Manchester?
My accent,
Yeah.
it's south of England, it's Kent. So it's basically like just a little bit southeast of London.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Okay.
best bit.
Although Martin is
Yeah.
really good at doing an American accent.
So it's
Oh,
not.
yeah.
So it's not northern.
No, I'm from
You
south,
said
yeah.
Yeah. But,
He sounds like John
because
Wayne
it's a
though when he
big
does an
deal.
American accent.
Yeah.
Everything falls flat.
No, it's a big deal to say northern or southern.
Yeah, we
You
don't
know?
we don't get on.
They don't.
Uh-uh.
No.
No, not at
Lots
all.
of lots
We,
of problems.
They're just mad because we're better.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
We got another quick question here from First Class Horrors asking, what was the process around creating your own version of such an established and iconic character?
For
Leatherface?
For Leatherface, yeah.
Yeah.
Repeat the question.
What was the process around creating your own version of such an iconic character?
So I'll tell you that always, no matter what the project is, it all starts with the script. So just from my end, it's very easy just to jump into what you think something should look like, and you can get great designs. There's been some amazing designs in films over the last 30, 40 years that are amazing, but they don't necessarily connect to the source material. You've really got to look at a script and try to, again, extrapolate what is making that script work. A good character design, I think, always stems from taking yourself out of the script and requiring to make something that suits what the story needs. So in other words, like for Leatherface, in the very first draft that we read, there was an odd sense of, again, we said the word tragedy, but there was a sense, I just got a sense of sorrowfulness from the story. And it really began with trying to put a little bit of that into the mask. And it really stemmed from there, and then because the thing is, like, designing is a weird process. It's pretty lonely because you're stuck in a room. I mean, most designers will credit to this. You're stuck in a room. You're kind of trying to get into the mind of a director or a producer. It's a weird thing because, like, your own ego always wants to get in the way of that, but you've got to try to pull out what that person's trying to get at in that project. So, you can have your own ideas about it, but at the end of the day, you don't have the whole picture as a designer. Only the director has that. So you've got to try to hit that middle ground between letting your ego out and letting the overall vision that the director has in.
But that can also be really tricky too if your director doesn't have a vision, because we've had that experience, not on this show, but we've had that experience before where the director really doesn't know what he wants, and then you end up doing a design that is the right design, and they go, and we've had this happen. We did a design of something, and the director goes, change this, now change this, now change this, and literally we did 15 different versions and went all the way back to the very first one, showed him the first one again without telling him it was the first one. And he said, that's the one.
Oh, wow.
So it's tough sometimes because the directors don't know exactly what they want. And then at that point, it's really important to just kind of figure out how to put a few designs in front of them and get reactions from them and pull it out of them as to what they're reacting to and what they respond to. So it can be really challenging.
You know, the other weird thing too, thinking about it, is it's like sometimes people just can't vocalize what's in their head. And I think some directors, Todd's right, like it seems like they don't know what they want, but in a way they do, they just can't necessarily verbalize it.
Yeah, they can't express it.
Every movie has a set of like departments that work on it, you know, wardrobe, props, whatever it may be. But creature effects are kind of like the bastard stepchild, you know, like not every film has us, you know, and I think sometimes when we come on board a production, I think sometimes people don't know how to necessarily talk to us. Like they don't have the language down, you know, and some directors we work with, they're nerds, you know, they get the terminology, they get the shots, they understand how to verbalize the thing they're looking for their project. But Todd's right, sometimes it seems like they don't know, but if you're patient with them, sometimes you can get it out of them. But you've got to be a little bit of a psychologist, I think, to work with those people.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I was kind of thinking I was taking it a little differently when you first said it, but then your process of having to pull it out of them is like that's really interesting.
You can see that they know what they want, but they don't have the words for it. Mm-hmm. So, and again, there is a running joke, like Todd said, like sometimes you'll do the right thing initially. I mean, there's one project we've been working on for a while where we did the first design. The first thing I did ended up being the one they picked, but we had to do literally like 100 different other designs to get back to the beginning. But that is pretty common. That's not that unusual. But sometimes you need to see what you don't want to know what you do want.
Right.
Those are the jobs that take the longest.
Yeah, we when we did this last film with Netflix that I was talking about with the 26 characters, that was a completely different process because there were so many different characters. We would just come up with these designs and put it in front of the director, and he pretty much approved everything that we did, just one after another, after another, after another. And since we had 26 of them, you know, at that point to sit there and dissect and redraw and redo all, you know, it would have been a nightmare to have to do that over and over for 26 different characters. So it really depends on the director, and it really depends on, you know, kind of how much they trust you as a designer also to put stuff in front of them, you know.
But to answer that question about Leatherface though, because that's what they're asking, like it definitely started with the script on this one. There's no doubt about it. But there's that added pressure back here of what everyone knows that classic iconic look is.
Right.
So it's like,
how much can you change it before you piss everyone off? Right.
Kind of, yeah.
Because we talked about that.
We talked about it a lot, and you know, there's all sorts of like ways you can go on this. But the other thing you got to realize, there's time crunches. I think a lot of people don't realize. Yeah. We don't have 6 months to sit in a room and sort of wax lyrical about, you know, the ways we can go on this. And these designs, no matter what the film is, especially on larger productions, they have to go through so many departments: production designers, directors, producers, distributors. Like so many people have a say in these designs now.
Right.
And then also too, as you design these characters, especially if you're designing from head to toe, you're now interacting with wardrobe, because wardrobe is probably going to be making whatever it is you're designing as far as the clothes go. You're interacting potentially with the hair department. If you're making wigs and you're going to go on set, the hair department might be putting the wigs on. So straight makeup, hair department, you know, digital, because there's so much interaction between the practical and the digital. So really, when we go on a project, we start with the director, but you know, when we're on set and as it starts to move forward, we're interacting with all these different departments to try to come together to make sure that one thing works.
But to answer the question though, Leatherface didn't really change from the first maquette very much. The very first maquette, because to be honest, they really wanted to see some 2D designs, but I was kind of a bit aggressive about doing a 3D design because to me, I wanted to get that old school vibe, you know. And, you know, in the old days, you do maquettes, you know, you do like 2D drawings in pencil, you know. I mean, I get that there's things have changed and we're in a different kind of like world now.
Right.
But sometimes, you know, more traditional ways suit the project better.
Right.
Texas Chainsaw felt like, the right.
This one, well, pretty much the first sculpture we took in there is the sculpture.
They pretty much stuck with that.
The very first one. That's and again, when I saw it too, when I saw the sadness in the face and everything, you know, they questioned it a little bit at first because again, they wanted that scary thing, but it grew on them very quickly because they understood, you know, that it was playing into the motion of the character for the script and
Yeah.
it blended it to the script. So,
But then the other thing is that you can do a maquette and people go, oh, that's great, we like it. But then you have to negotiate those shapes onto an actor's face. So
Right.
it's not really until you get the actor's life cast and you take those design cues off a maquette or drawing or a ZBrush or whatever it may be, and you push that onto another person's face, everything starts to change. So
Right.
suddenly they'll say, well, that's not what we asked for, and it's like, well, it's as close as you're going to get because
Right.
that face dictates how that design's going to roll.
it translates a little
So
different from
there's-
face to face.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like, a lot of people work in ZBrush, doing designs, which is great. And, you can get some very beautiful designs with OSL and everything's like a moment from a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've got to put that down into 3 dimensions, it will lose a lot of it. That's why sometimes, and I think a lot of studios get this, you'll get designs that are really beautifully executed and painted. And even again, when they're lit a certain way, it's selling a moment in time. But the truth about it is it's a clay sculpture. So it's a very sort of like, it can be a bit of a jump. And also here, sometimes we'll take the sculpture and we'll paint over it, to try to give a closer representation to the design. Sometimes if it's done in 2D.
Right.
So there's all sorts of like hurdles you have to jump over. It's never, and no design process is the same twice.
No, it's
Mhm.
different every film.
Every film.
Yeah.
So we're down to the last couple of minutes on this. Michael, do you have any more questions, comments on your end?
If we could sneak one more in, we had one girl,
Sure.
Jennifer, wanted to know if there was any of those oh no moments, any like equipment malfunctions, did the costume, anything rip, anything go bad? Oh my God, we got to get it back together kind of deal.
That's a great question.
It is.
So I'm not going to lie. Any good makeup effects person will, if they said they weren't panicking about something ripping or tearing, they're lying. Everybody panics like, did I build this right? I have to say, not once did we have an issue with that mask.
Wow.
No matter what the scene was, no matter what the shot was, whether he was getting hit by a car, being thrown underwater, never.
That's amazing.
Never.
Yeah, that's great.
right. I mean, I'm not. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, we tried to. There is quite a lot of mechanics that go into that, and I did try to come up
That's
with a
amazing.
system that was going to work, but you just don't know.
I actually disagree with you. I don't think it was all luck.
No, it's not.
I think, there was a lot of preparation building this mask to make sure that there was a lot of time spent coming up with the vacuum or the Velcro attachments and all that stuff to make sure that it was a solid thing so that it could go through all of the stunts and the body,
We knew what we were getting into. There was going to be heat,
rain,
dirt,
water, mud.
We knew
blood.
that all that was going to come
Yeah.
up. So for the most part, like once you knew what you were getting into with the conditions, that kind of denotes the way you're going to build something. So it's not necessarily like, oh, we're just going to glue it on his face.
Right.
Because if he's stuck underwater and we got to get that thing off in a hurry,
Which he was.
you're not going to be there with like, making
Right.
a move, we're trying to peel the thing off.
It was pretty foolproof when it went out the door. But you got lucky.
Yeah,
no, but
I mean,
here's the thing.
though.
There's always stuff that happens every time you go on set, and you can never
You can
guess
never
what it's going to be.
predict it.
You can
Right.
never. If you put money on a table and bet, you would never win. So there is a bit of luck, but we definitely went in and tried to do everything we could to make it foolproof before it walked out
But
the
there
door.
was no mishaps, not once.
Amazing.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So that's it for us, George. I don't know if you have anything you want to squeeze in there.
We're good.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been chiming in with your questions, with your comments.
Thank you.
It really just comes down to passion. These guys have passion for the project. They have passion for the character, and that passion is right there on the screen for all to see. And I'm really, really thrilled that both of you have been able to take the time to sit down and talk with us and give us a really great look behind the scenes, share some terrific stories. Ivana, you are awesome as always. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for everything that you have done for this. You are definitely the MVP here. I know how hard you've been working behind the
thank
scenes
you.
to get all this going. It has just been absolutely remarkable. Thank you again to every one of you for chiming in, and for Michael B, for Ivana Cadaver, for Todd and Martin. This is George Soroy saying to all of you, ever upward. And I will see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
All righty.
All right. And